Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Murder Church. Sunday morning Murder Church is upon us once again. Week freaking 9. Can you believe it? I cannot. I think everything is right. What is happening, everyone? Thank you all for being here again early as hell on a Sunday morning. Amazing. I see everyone hanging out here in the chat early on. Mandy, thank you for being here modding up early. Jay in here modding up early. Yeah. So we got the elephant picture. We got the elephant picture and being stacked like donuts on said elephant picture. And I've got it right here in front of us. They were trying to kill this little boy right here. I did have a nice little safety strap right there, but it felt like I was going to definitely fall out and die this day. And again, I still agree with the stacked like donuts part. I was a scared boy. Look at this elephant. This very, very smart elephant. Wise elephant. It is crazy that Dan found that so quickly. Welcome everyone. Again, has everyone beat the bells? Is everyone in their seats before the bells ring? That is the question. Good morning, Viv. Morning, Leanne. Morning, Dizzy. Morning, Shannon. Morning, Dilly Pickles. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. Good morning, Sarah. Brought donuts. Shannon. Kelly. Everyone, thank you all so much for coming and hanging out. Kelsey, still see a lot of names coming in here. I did, yeah. I went into Stream Elements. I made Stream Elements. I actually Googled it, too. I made the Stream Elements a moderator. Yeah, I think that I obviously don't have it right. But, yeah, I don't actually know what I'm doing wrong. I'm going to have to get you and probably Dan to help me out to actually get that set up. Because, yeah, I was messing with it last night. The two that should be working are you and Bob. Should be able to be popped up and get your links ready to rock and roll. So we're going to get that going sooner than later, folks. If you are hanging out with us here today, please make sure you're liking the stream. That really helps us out here at Publicly Buzz and helps us get into the old algorithm on YouTube. YouTube hates us. They hate creators. They're not fans of us. They want us to go away. They hate money. They hate your money for some reason. But yeah, if you actually give a like, that'll help us out here. Please subscribe if you're not. If you're coming through randomly, hit the 3 little dots on the side and make sure all notifications are turned on so you don't miss any videos that I post, any live streams, and any community posts, which is all fucking day. And yeah, Mandy will have the rest of the links. And also Jay, the shaming of Jay. Make sure you're following. Make sure you're shaming Jay. Make sure you're following Jay and his endless progression on YouTube with the trial streaming. He's killing it right now, doing an amazing job. Just hit 4K, on to 5K, baby. It's gonna be some some good stuff with Jay. We are going again into week 9 this week, folks. Week 9. Can you believe it? Yeah. Oh, is it working? Oh, shit, it's working. Hell yes. Nice. Hell yes. Sweet. Boom. Yeah, if you put in exclamation point J, oh, you got to do it in all caps. Okay. All right. That's my bad. Boom. You will get the YouTube channel for Jay, and then you will get thefencediaries.com. Again, the best podcast out there in true crime for none other than Bob. Yes. Hell yes. Nice, Jay. Bonnie Bailey coming through early with the $2, putting it in the collection plate right out the gate for Murder Church. Thank you, Bonnie. Appreciate that.
I'm sober enough to know what I'm doing, and I'm drunk enough to really
start you with this one, Bonnie.
It.
Thank you so much. Start it, baby. Start it. I'm going to swim through it. I'm going to swim through it, Bonnie. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Absolutely amazing. But yeah, I'm so glad again that Dan found this picture of me on an elephant. On an elephant, baby. So this was inspired by Jay. He blocked off the old Court TV logo, so I was like, man, I got to get that blocked off. Did it with a sweet little Murder Church logo. Hope that works out. Let's rock and roll, guys. Let's get into this thing. First of all, let's look through the chat, make sure I'm not missing anything right out the gate. Some new folks popping through here, I'm sure. City Kitty, what's going on? Good morning. Jay going to gift up a membership. Holy shit. Holy shit.
Give me the loot. Give me the loot.
Oh, yeah. Boom.
Welcome to the party,
City
pal.
Kitty popped in and just grabbed that shit. Just grabbed it. Beers in the chat out the gate, folks. Out the gate. We're already going to be passing out some early morning brewskis. And here on Murder Church, you know, you can give out the mimosas. You can give out the Bloody Marys. Hell, you can give out the shots. Maybe we can get a couple of puffs off that bad boy right there. You never know, folks. Thank you guys so much for coming through here. Jay, thank you, my brother. Boom. Boom. And anytime we get new members here, folks, anybody that's new here, we load up the chat with some drinks. I usually say beers, but here on Sunday, you know, give them some coffee. Maybe City Kitty needs to wake up first before getting right into the party. Heather, good morning. Thank you for being here. Holy shit. Getting in here today, folks. Brooklyn, I see you as well in here. If I did miss anybody, I apologize. Yeah, we're going to rock and roll, baby.
Presiding. Silence is commanded. May be seated.
Morning, Your Honor. Your Honor, this morning...
Shit, oh shit, Tango Crochet going to come right behind it, though. Come right behind it, gifting another membership. Dizzy scooping it up. Dizzy scooping it up. Boom. Pour them out, baby. I'll get you a couple poured out right here. Boom. Welcome to the party, Dizzy. Really appreciate it.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Love it. Love it. Boom. Absolutely unbelievable crew here at Publicly Buzzed. Absolutely unbelievable crew here at J Buzz Nation. Oh, yeah. And look at my little hashtag. That's even maybe a little bit hard to see up there. J Buzz Nation hashtag right here. Boom. Boom. You're tweeting out, folks. You want people to know what you're watching? I always use the hashtag JBoNation and JBuzzNation when tweeting about this or talking about this in general. So yeah, hashtag up there.
I looked over the not the witness list, the exhibit list, and I find that everything that I have had marked, and I believe every...
Shit, I missed another one. Hold on, folks. Tango Crochet gifting out a membership, and Dizzy scooping that thing up. Scooping her up, baby. We'll pop another one. We will pop another one. It's early, but shit. The beers are a-flowing, baby. Beers are a-flowing. Again, I'm going to throw a couple coffees out just because I feel like I'm getting everybody a little too drunk too early here. Shit, we're going to have to sober everybody up to start again, baby. Thank you so much. Tango Crochet coming through. Got an iced mocha. That sounds absolutely amazing. I've only got some water right now. Charlotte coming through from the UK. What's going on? In from the future. Megsy's got some soda. Megsy sent me some cool information through the Discord on this case that we may be hitting today. Yeah, you guys are amazing. Mike Ladd, thank you for coming through here. I'm not always up at 5 a.m., but when I am, I'm here. Thank you so much. Must be on the West Coast out here, I'm guessing. Yes, I'm so happy to have you as a member, guys. Wow. Starting early. Leanne coming through with the $2. We need an opening hymn for Murder Church. Oh, that would be actually pretty cool. We do. And right now, I've only got the bells. We'll do extra bells this morning for the folks that are just coming through, getting into the pews, sitting in the back. Lurking. We love our lurkers here as well, folks. Love it. Just looking through here, make sure I'm not missing anything. Making sure I'm not missing anything. Kaylin, good morning. Murder Church is in session, and we're ready to rock and roll, baby. Ready to rock and roll. Again, week 9, Jeffrey Dahmer insanity trial is upon us. All the bows up in here. You damn right. We got a bow party. Ain't no party like a bow party. Don's up in here. Shit, let's go, everyone. Let's go. Highway to Hell would actually be a perfect hymn, Joanne. It actually would. It would. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start her off here. Again, thank you all so much. Getting the collection pot sent around early. Everyone with the memberships. You guys are crazy. Absolutely amazing. Starting Sunday out right. Starting the week out right. Let's go, baby.
Everything that has been marked except for Exhibit 19, which was a state's exhibit. That was the blow up of the apartment. Everything else has been received into evidence except Exhibit 1A, which is a substitute for Exhibit 1, which was the defendant's confession. And the distinction between 1 and 1A is that some things that were irrelevant and immaterial, in order to protect the names of people who were innocently talked to, etc., and so forth, they were blocked out. That has now been accomplished, and I moved its receipt into evidence as Exhibit 1A to replace and to supplement Exhibit 1. As far as Exhibit 26, Your Honor, that is the 3-ring folder that I have placed for question purposes and foundation purposes. I am not moving at this time that it be received. And if the court receives Exhibit number 1A, I will be prepared to inform the court and the jury that I rest any issue.
New member rocking through. Yes, boom. Hold on. Gotta get the beers going. Boom. Cracking beers in the fucking place. Open them up. We're gonna be drunk as hell before we even get started here, baby. That's what I like to see, though. Boom. I'm gonna throw you a couple of liquor glasses in there, and we'll throw you. Oh, actually, I know what you want. Hold on. She wants the joints. Hold on now. Get a little bit of everything in there, but I know the joints are going to have to come in at the end. Boom! Welcome to the party, pal. Did I do that one? Boom!
Welcome to the party, pal.
Insane. You guys are nuts. Another gifted membership. This time getting Kelly Gale just coming through here also, who may be lurking right now, but another membership coming through. Damn.
I'm sober enough to know what I'm doing, and I'm drunk enough to really enjoy doing it. Welcome to the party,
This is insanity this morning. Already popping them off early. J Buzz Nation for life. For life. Anybody in the old school NWO, New World Order wrestling fans out there know exactly what we're talking about there, baby. Thank you all so much. Craziness. Give me that loot out here. I have to get some new songs. I'm going to have to get a couple of more lined up. Wow. You guys are nuts. Welcome, everyone, to the party, pals. Phantom of the Paradise. Murder Church song. Need a Murder Church song going here. Get everyone hyped the hell up.
Any objection to 1A being replaced for, actually, this is a substitution that we're doing here. So ordered.
And the defense rests.
Mr. McCann, I understand that you have a matter to address the court on, which should be done outside the presence of the jury, and therefore I will ask the jury to retire to the jury room.
All right, please.
Be seated, please.
If it please the court, I do this as more of a formal motion. I don't entertain any serious reservations what the court intends to do here, but I move to dismiss, and I present this argument. A number of years ago...
Standing up right now, he's like, looking to dismiss. Wow. This has been crazy. This whole thing has been interesting this entire time. Let me get my graphics. We have a new expert coming up today. But before we get there, it looks like we're going to have a couple of arguments here as well. Real quick. Making sure I've got all my ducks in a row over here on the side. Yes. Edward Michael McCann. Nobody that is familiar with him yet. If you're new here, he will tell any expert that he doesn't know shit. He likes to come at him pretty hard, quite honestly. And it's very entertaining, honestly. And I like the guy. But I also like the defense side as well. So it should be interesting as this continues. But he's looking for a dismissal here. Making
particularly under
Not going
DSM-1,
to get it. Not going to.
the diagnostic and
But let's hear his argument. That's been one of my favorite things about this entire trial of, reliving experience, whatever you want to call this. The arguments that we're kind of hearing from the experts on why they want to make these motions and what they think at the end of the day. It's really freaking interesting.
Statistical manual. The first one, this particular deviation was a personality disorder and was treated as such, and no one would seriously argue at such time that this was such mental disease as would fall under the law, the basic ALI test in the state of Wisconsin. Because of changes undertaken by the American Psychiatric Association, particularly in their nosology under the DSM-2 and DSM-3 and DSM-3R, there has been no change whatsoever in the nature of this matter. The person who would be taken up with a dead body would be attracted to a dead body, which was under DSM-1 was simply a personality disorder. Under DSM-3 now has advanced that it is a sexual disorder, given a different status than it was under DSM-1. This is precisely what we're doing here in Wisconsin now is precisely what we don't wish to do under our statutes and under our case law. As the court knows, in DSM-3R, there appears the following cautionary instruction. I won't read the entire instruction. A portion of it has already been referred to during Dr. Becker's testimony, as I recollect. But this cautionary statement, the particularly germane section of it, reads as follows. It is to be understood that inclusion here for clinical and research purposes of a diagnostic category such as pathological gambling or pedophilia does not imply that the condition meets legal or other non-medical criteria for what constitutes mental disease, mental disorder, or mental disability. The clinical and scientific considerations involved in categorization of these conditions as mental disorders may not be wholly relevant to legal judgments. For example, that take into account such issues as individual responsibility, disability determination, and competency. And I submit to you that the citation to pathological gambling or pedophilia is by no accident. I think it's in United States versus Torriero, where the federal courts have expressly rejected pathological gambling as a grounds for a mental defense in a federal prosecution. In that case, I believe it was an individual who claimed he was a pathological gambler, stole some funds and was prosecuted for that, and his defense was that he stole the money because he needed it to satisfy his pathological gambling habit. What we have here is what was once a personality disorder, necrophilia, being urged as a defense for a person who kills allegedly in order to get the dead bodies. And if it please the court, in my opinion, this court ought to rule, as did the federal court in United States versus Torriero, with respect to the gambling, pathological gambling, that the philias, the paraphilias, are not the subject of mental disease in terms of the Wisconsin law. They are really personality disorders. The problem here is the defendant didn't exercise his willpower to control himself. The sexual urge is the same. It's just the object of that sexual urge. And I submit the courts will see a flood, particularly after the publicity attendant upon this case. We will see a flood of rape defendants coming in saying, no, they're suffering from paraphilic rape disorder. We know we will see the pedophiles coming in saying they're suffering from a paraphilic disorder, drawn to children. And I submit that by virtue of the fact that there's been a change by the American Psychiatric Association.
Oh, Charlotte, going to fill up the pot here this morning early. Thanks for doing this, Steve. No, thank you for being here, Charlotte. Abso-freaking-lutely. Seriously. You guys coming through here make this worth it every Sunday morning. It's been great. It's been a great experience. It's been, on Sunday mornings, it's a little bit different than any other stream we do. We're basically a late night type show. I come in here on Sunday mornings, and it's a little bit of a different crowd too. It's interesting. It's a different show in general because the usual Publicly Buzzed shows is not specifically watching a trial. Something that I want to get into, props to Jay, who watches these trials all the time, is to get into this level of the streaming. And yeah, it's been an absolutely pleasure, a great experience. And yeah, getting to know everyone a little bit closer as well. We get a little bit more intimate here on Murder Church, I think. So yeah, Charlotte, thank you also for the $4.99, but thank you for just being here and being amazing and being freaking awesome. Seriously.
Ought not color the decisions made by the courts of Wisconsin. The courts have said repeatedly that we will not permit the medical profession to dictate what mental disease is. And what's happening right here is precisely that. By them coming in, the physicians and the psychologists that have testified, coming in, citing the DSM psychosexual disorder, have in fact done precisely that. We are permitting the American Psychiatric Association to dictate to the courts of Wisconsin what mental disease will be within the meaning of the statute. And that is, if it please the court, that is not what ought to happen, and our courts have addressed that problem. And I would ask the court on the basis of that, that the paraphilia described as a matter of law is not a mental disease, and I would move the court to dismiss, I move for judgment in this matter on the basis of that there have been no presentation of what could constitute a mental disease under the law of Wisconsin, under the case law and the statute, and under those circumstances I would move the court for a judgment in favor of the state and non-suit the defendant on this particular issue and ask the court to enter a judgment that the defendant is sane.
Okay. The court's going to deny that motion without asking for argument from the defense.
I appreciate that. But
Look at the judge. He's like, stop. You don't even have to say anything, Boyle. I'm already, it's not going to get dismissed. Why are you saying I appreciate that before I even get done speaking? But the judge has not had a good evening. You can see a classic picture earlier on in the trial. I think this was the first day of the trial. His hair is nice and combed and just a mere, I don't know exactly how much longer later, but look at this man. He's done. He's had enough. His hair is in shambles. Disheveled is a better word. But yeah, Boyle coming out the gate, he's ready to talk a little shit himself, isn't he?
No, I think there's a proper time to argue it.
No, I'm not arguing it, but just please bear with me that never would I ever bring a pedophile into this courtroom and claim that he was mentally diseased, and this flood of these kind of things happening in the future is, in my opinion, unfair to say in this courtroom.
Okay. My point at this point in the trial is that I have to take the testimony in the light most favorable to the defendant. I think that clearly requires the court to deny this motion. Mr. McCann is right that at least in part what constitutes a mental disease is a question of law. But we have to be a little pragmatic about these things. We have a tremendous investment in the course of this trial. This court is not about to grant such a motion. The legal issue remains to the extent that there is a legal issue, and if after we get a verdict, if we still have the legal issue, then maybe we'll have to visit this question again. But for now, the motion is denied.
Well, just so the court has stopped, it's clear that I had some things to say about why I don't agree with what he said in this case at this juncture. And I won't argue if the court doesn't want me to argue, but I think it's unfair to suggest that I can't respond to the fact that I just don't buy his argument for a moment. And I think we can go forward and should go forward. Now, that done, Your Honor, I have a motion to make.
Yes, go ahead.
You want me to go? Sure. Your Honor, I make this one very...
They get contentious in here now.
Very hesitantly, because it affects an outstanding member of the psychological network in this county, and that's Dr. Sam Friedman. In the course of preparing myself for what I'm supposed to do in this case, there's a lot of judgments that I had to make, and one of which is I had to see what the law says. And the law clearly says that under 971-16, whenever the defendant has entered a plea of not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect, and there is reason to believe that the mental disease or defect of the defendant will otherwise become an issue in this case, the court may appoint at least one physician, but not more than 3, to examine the defendant and to testify at the trial. So going through all of the research, I find that some erstwhile attorney on appeal claimed that the court appointed a physician in a case who wasn't a psychiatrist and allowed that physician to testify. And that lawyer on appeal argued that it was unfair to his client, the defendant, because that physician should have been a psychiatrist. And the court said the court would be better off appointing a psychiatrist, but as long as that person was a physician, it met the statute.
They could pass as brothers, couldn't they, Shannon? Yeah, little they got a vibe going on about them that's very similar.
Statutory requirement. So I say to myself, Dr. Palermo, clearly the one that the court appointed, is a well-known psychiatrist who are in his courts with almost daily frequency testifying on many issues concerning mental illness. And then I find that he had the good judgment to bring in Dr. Sam Friedman, a psychologist, to assist him in preparing himself, as I understand it, so that he could do the best possible job he could. And now I find that Dr. Sam Friedman, a very well-known, very experienced, very well-recognized psychologist, is going to appear at this trial and testify. I don't believe the court appointed Dr. Sam Friedman. If the court did appoint Dr. Sam Friedman, some erstwhile lawyer may sometime in the future say, or I may sometime in the future say, the law is pretty clear that you have to be a physician, and we know psychologists are not physicians. In talking about my calling a psychologist, which I did, the same rule doesn't apply. I don't have to call a physician. I don't have to call a psychiatrist. I can call 84 psychologists. And it seems like maybe somebody in the legislature really didn't quite understand the distinction and didn't cure the problem. In the civil code, under the civil evidentiary rules and under the evidentiary rules of the court, if the court feels it can appoint witnesses to testify on issues in dispute. So perhaps the court might find that that fits within his power to do, and in that way Dr. Sam Friedman can be called by the court. The problem that I have is that Dr. Sam Friedman is going to be told to the jury that he's really a court-appointed expert, and I've always argued and I've always taught that no matter how good your doctors are and how good the state's doctors are, the jury may very well listen to these independent court-appointed experts who don't belong to either side. And there's a good reason why that has to be, because otherwise there might be confusion, and the legislature felt that in these contests they should have independent, non-paid for by other side experts, independent. Therefore, the court should tell the jury that they're court-appointed experts. I think Dr. Friedman being called upon to testify where the court really did not appoint him, or if you did appoint him, you appointed him because Dr. Palermo asked for the help, that either one of two things should happen. You have to rule on the question of whether he fits within the statute. I'm not going to have a claim made that I didn't do something I should have done. I'm not afraid of doing these things, and I don't really care about somebody second-guessing me. Lord knows I made 1,000 judgments in this case already that are going to be subjected to some second-guessing, and I could care less about that. But I think when the statute is clear-cut and says you may appoint a physician, and there's case law that talked about that, and our Supreme Court says it's a physician is all it has to be, and the good Dr. Sam Friedman is not a physician, I must raise the question, let the court rule upon it in case the matter ever has to be subjected to some further interpretation down the line. But believe me, if it was my brother who the court was calling, I'd have to make the same argument. I just make it because it has to be made, and if Dr. Friedman is called to testify, I do not think that he should be told to the jury that he is a court-appointed expert and come within the same language as obviously you're going to do with Dr. Palermo, which clearly the instructions tell us.
Yeah, we're going to be getting to Dr. Palermo shortly.
That you're going to do and you have the right to do. Thank you, Judge.
State, Kevin.
I don't know if the state has a position on it.
Just in very brief response, Your Honor, because I believe it is within the court's discretion and the state is leaving it to the court's discretion what witnesses it calls. The statute Mr. Boyle read speaks in terms of who the court may appoint. And the court in this case appointed Dr. Palermo. As Mr. Boyle's already stated on the record, Dr. Palermo sought the aid in testing and other matters of Dr. Friedman. It's also clear that the court has the discretion to call witnesses that the court believes will be helpful to the jury. In that regard, I think that Dr. Friedman's involvement in this case was arrived at legally, and I believe it's well within the bounds of the court's discretion for the court to choose whether or not to call Dr. Friedman to testify before this jury.
For the benefit of anybody reviewing the record, we are, in one instance, talking about Section 971.16(1), which discusses the authority of the court to appoint a physician for the purpose of exam.
Yeah, I like Boyle too, Megsy. He's cool. I like all of them. Like, I don't actually, I don't have any kind of sides to be taking anyways, but I kind of like how everyone does their arguments.
The defendant when the defense of not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect is raised. Interestingly enough, and I think as all counsel are aware, it's interesting to look at what we do, and then every once in a while look at the statute book to see what the statute says about what we do. Because what we do is, yes, we normally, as a matter of course, appoint a physician, but we frequently also, as a matter of course, appoint a psychologist in these examinations. And I agree, and I appreciate Mr. Boyle bringing the exact language of the statute to the attention of the court. However, that's really not what happened in this case. The court appointed Dr. Palermo. Subsequent to that appointment, Dr. Palermo communicated with the court and asked that he be permitted to consult with a psychologist, and suggested that he should be that he would like to consult with Dr. Friedman. As I point out that it is
for real, dude. Look at the book that he's flipping through, right? Looking for the laws and shit. I'm sure, dude. The amount of information and knowledge that all of these guys, I know they go to school, I know that this is their lives, this is their careers, but holy shit, the amount of information that you have to retain, whether you're going into any of these type of professions, holy fucking shit, it's impressive.
Palermo that selected.
It's impressive when you have good ones also, and you can see the difference between shitty ones, right? It's what makes the whole thing.
Dr. Friedman and not the court. That when that was received, that request was shared with both counsel in this case.
He is. He's very clear. He's very poignant. He knows what he's saying. He knows what he wants you to hear. He's also very gracious. He's very nice. He's not, he is, as a judge, is not being contentious. He's trying to mitigate and make sure that everybody is playing fair, quite frankly. He's been awesome. I really have enjoyed L.C. Graham Jr. as a judge here.
And both counsel were giving an opportunity to respond. The state, interestingly enough, suggested that they might have some objection to Dr. Friedman, but then subsequently indicated to the court that no, they didn't have any objection. I think their basis was that was this was the court's expert, and the court's expert should be able to do what the court's expert thinks that is necessary. And no objection was received from the defense in this case. Based upon those responses, or lack of responses, the court authorized Dr. Palermo to consult with Dr. Friedman. That's how Dr. Friedman got into the case. In terms of calling witnesses, I believe that the controlling statute is not 971.16, but the controlling statute is 906.14, the general, as a part of the General Evidence Code. Paren 1, entitled Calling by the Judge, states the judge may, on the judge's own motion or at the suggestion of a party, call witnesses, and all parties are entitled to cross-examine witnesses thus called. It might be interesting to note one of the law notes that's provided in the evidentiary material I have refers to State v. Walter, W-O-L-T-E-R, reported at 85 Wisconsin 2nd 353, a 1978 case. And this says, the trial court must be careful not to function as a partisan or an advocate. The judge should not take any active role in trying the case for either side. He does have a responsibility to to clarify questions and answers where obvious, important evidentiary matters are ignored or inadequately covered. I think it is in the spirit of this language that the court in the first instance appoints an expert to examine the defendant, and it is in the spirit of this language that these expert and, if necessary, any expert that the court-appointed expert consulted with are brought into court and given the opportunity to give their view to the jury. Because of the fact that they are called as the court's witnesses, both sides are entitled to cross-examine, and that's the rule I think that we're all aware of. So therefore, any objection to Dr. Friedman being called or any other witness that the court deems appropriate is overruled.
Okay, now one thing then. I think, however, you should
He won't
be
stop. Boyle's like, well, hold on.
constrained to tell the jury that while you appointed Dr. George Palermo as a court-appointed expert, it was his choice to use Dr. Sam Friedman.
I believe, Mr. Boyle, I have already explained that to the jury, and I will do so again.
Okay, but isn't there language in that? Well, we can talk about that. Well, are you going to introduce Dr. Friedman as a court-appointed expert?
No, I will introduce him as an expert that Dr. Palermo consulted with.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
And that's how I explained it early on.
Sure. Okay, that's fair. I mean, in light of your ruling, that's fair. Yeah. Thank you.
Are we ready?
Ready to go.
Are we finally ready for our first witness for this edition of Murder Church? Let's go, baby. Took us 20 minutes to get through the opening there. Little argument. Again, here we go. Boom. Psychiatrist. Court-appointed, we're not going to mention that to the jury, but court-appointed psychiatrist Dr. George Palermo. Now, this one is interesting. Again, Megsy in the in Discord brought up some interesting information. I'm just going to read this. For the stream of Palermo's, testimony will be definitely interesting. He's a lot different from other doctors with how lighthearted he is, and he's also the only doctor who diagnosed Dahmer with sexual sadism. There will be some inaccuracies in his testimony, which for the first time and only time made Dahmer react and showed indeed he was paying attention. So that's going to be interesting. So far it looks like Dahmer's over there basically comatose. But no, he's paying attention to what's going on here. And then I've also got a cool little snippet here that was actually showed in court. And here's what Dahmer wrote down for his lawyers during the testimony. Maybe you could show this during the stream. And once we get to this point, I will show this, Megsy. Thank you so much for sending that in the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, join the Discord. That is a direct communication line for Publicly Buzzed, for me or Dan, or for anybody here in the J-Buzz Nation. So yeah, make sure you're in the Discord, folks.
Yes, I do. Would you state your name and spell your last name, please?
Yeah, my name is George Palermo, P like in Peter, A-L-E-R-M-O.
Jurors, because the court is calling this witness, the court will conduct the direct examination of this witness, after which each attorney has the opportunity to cross-examine the witness. I think I'm going to share with you.
He does sort of look painted. I was trying to find the best picture. You know what I mean? I'm like, I need to find a decent picture for Dr. Palermo. If I can say this man's name right.
Some language, which is the guidance to the court as how
I could say anyone's name right. I'd be dangerous, baby.
The court is to conduct itself, so you understand fully what the court's role is. The trial court must be careful not to function as a partisan or advocate. The judge should not take any active role in trying the case for either side. He does have a responsibility to clarify questions and answers where obvious, important.
Good call, Jay, on the comments. Thank you, brother.
Evidentiary matters are ignored or inadequately covered. And it is in the spirit of giving this jury the full information that this witness is called, and he will now be examined by the court. Doctor, what is your occupation?
I am a physician and surgeon, and I specialize in psychiatry, and I'm a board certified in psychiatry since 1962.
Now, you have previously submitted to the court a vitae, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I've had marked as Exhibit 35 a document that's entitled Curriculum Vitae. Would you indicate for the record whether or not this is the vitae that you submitted to the court?
Yes, George B. Palermo, yes.
And Does that fully and accurately set forth your background, sir?
Yes.
Okay. You may refer to that in answering the questions concerning to your qualifications, sir. And would you give us an indication of what your educational background is?
Yes. I graduated from the University of Bologna Medical School in Italy in 1951. I spent 1 year of internship at the Rome University Medical School, the Rome Polyclinic, from 1951 to 1952.
Yeah, I think I noticed what you were trying to say there, Shannon. You're wondering how me and Jay met each other, but yeah, one day I slid right into his DMs there. I saw that Jay was having some trouble doing his first video, actually, on YouTube. He had just started his channel. I was paying attention because I was already following him from Twitter from the Gwyneth Paltrow trial. So once he actually started streaming, of course, I'd been on YouTube for a while. I was already excited about seeing anybody jump into the streaming game here on YouTube. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. And he was doing good out the gate. I mean, he got his first K in like weeks, like maybe even quicker than that. He, out the gate, nailed it, murdered it. But the videos is really hard and they suck. And I've been editing for quite some time, so I thought maybe I'll try to offer some help there. And dude, I'm glad that he responded. And I did do a little bit of work for Jay, and we've basically been friends ever since, and rocking out streams together, and doing this whole networking thing, man. And he's again the best dude that you could possibly find here on the interwebs, because him and Shannon have been absolutely amazing, and the J-Bo Nation in general, the best, the fucking best, man. Absolutely. Yeah, that's how we met, and again, so glad that we did, because I think that this journey has turned into a much better journey along the way since meeting Jay. I'm just going to say that straight out. Like, everything has just been way, way, way better, even smoother, just in getting the community going. Because I mean, the whole thing about the gamer in here, Mike, everybody that wants to get on here and you start streaming, the whole thing is building a community, building actual folks that give a shit what you're doing, right? And I mean, yeah, Jay's the man. He's the fucking man.
I came to the United States of America, actually to Milwaukee, and from 1952 to 1953, I was an intern at St. Michael's Hospital. From 53 to 54, I was a resident in psychiatry at the Colorado University in Pueblo, Colorado.
I remember being nervous about it just because, I mean, anytime I've actually called or tried to work with anybody, I'm always a little bit like, why would they want to, why would they care, right? But no, in this community, the true crime community in general has been absolutely amazing. The best community that I've personally found 100% on the interwebs. Way cooler people, way more cooler people than not. I'll just say that. Like, everyone in this community have been amazing.
From 54 to 55, I was resident in psychiatry at Duke University Hospital in Durham, North Carolina. From 55 to 57, I was a resident in general practice at the Evangelical Deaconess Hospital in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. From 58 to 59, I was a resident in psychiatry at the Elgin State Hospital, Elgin, Illinois. From 58 to 59, I was resident in psychiatry at the Illinois State Psychiatric Institute, Chicago, Illinois. From 59 to 60, I was instructor in psychiatry at Loyola University in Chicago. From 60 to 69, I was instructor in psychiatry at Marquette University, Milwaukee. From 62 to 63, I was a lecturer in psychiatry at the University of Wisconsin School of Social Work in Milwaukee. From 1970 to 1988, I was an associate professor of psychology, the Institute of Psychology, that I had a liaison with the University of Chicago, at the Università Gregoriana in Rome, Italy. From 74 to 88, I was a psychiatric consultant for the Department of Forensic Psychopathology.
Welcome to the next 2 hours of figuring out why he is an expert, folks.
At the University of Rome Medical School under the chairmanship of Franco Ferracuti, a very famous criminologist. From 72 to 88, I was assistant professor of psychiatry at Loyola University Medical School, Department of Psychiatry, Chicago, while I was residing in Italy. From 1973 to 75, I was professor of psychology at Gian Cabot International College, Rome, Italy. It's one of the American colleges in Europe. In 1983, I was up to 89, clinical professor of psychogeriatrics at the Università Cattolica Medical School, Rome, Italy. From 89 to present, I'm a lecturer in the Department of Psychiatry at the Stritch Medical School, Loyola University, Chicago, and I'm also a lecturer and teacher in medical ethics in the Department of Humanities and Medical Ethics at the same university. From 60 to 70, I've been a psychiatric consultant for the Evangelical Deaconess Hospital in Milwaukee. From 62 to 69, I've been psychiatric consultant for the Milwaukee County Mental Health Center in Milwaukee. From 70 to 87, I've been a psychiatric consultant and the only psychiatrist at the Salvator Mundi International Hospital in Rome, Italy. I was also a psychiatric consultant from 85 to 88 at a geriatric hospital in Rome, Italy, Villa Monica. From 88 to present, I am a staff psychiatrist at the Milwaukee County Mental Health Complex here in Milwaukee. I'm also, from 88 to present, staff psychiatrist, St. Mary's Hill Hospital, Milwaukee. Actually, now I am on the consulting, on the courtesy staff because I don't have too much time. From 1989 to present, I've been a psychiatric consultant for DePaul Rehabilitation Center in Milwaukee. From 89 to 91, I've been a consultant for the Clement Zablocki VA Hospital in Milwaukee, psychiatric consultant. From 1991 to present, I am a forensic psychiatric consultant for the Milwaukee Medical Examiner's Office in Milwaukee. Besides the above, I am, as I said, board certified in psychiatry by the American Board of Psychiatry and Neurology since 1962. I am licensed in the state of Illinois, Wisconsin, Italy. From 88 to 91, I have been Associate Clinical Professor of Psychiatry, Department of Psychiatry, Medical College of Wisconsin in Milwaukee. From 89 to 91, present, I've been Associate Clinical Professor, Department of Medicine, Section of Geriatrics, Medical College of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. From 1989, in 1989, I've been Associate Professor Adjunct of Criminology and Law Studies, Department of Cultural and Social Sciences at Marquette University in Milwaukee. From 1991, I've been promoted to Clinical Professor of Psychiatry, Department of Psychiatry, Medical College of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. From 1991, I've been promoted to Professor Adjunct of Criminology and Law Studies, Department of Cultural and Social Sciences, Marquette University, Milwaukee. From 1991, I've been promoted to Clinical Professor of Department of Medicine, Section of Geriatrics, Medical College of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. From 91, I am Professor part-time in the Department of Humanities and Ethics, Loyola University Stritch Medical School. I'm a member of the examining board for doctoral dissertation in criminology, Department of Culture and Social Sciences, Marquette University, Milwaukee. From 60 to 62, I've been chief of the male admitting service in Milwaukee County Mental Health Center in Milwaukee. From 60 to 70, I've been attending psychiatrist at St. Michael's Hospital in Milwaukee. From 1991, I am a member of the board of Wisconsin Correctional Services. Shall I? I'm a member of the Milwaukee County Neuropsychiatric Society, the Wisconsin Psychiatric Association, the American Psychiatric Association. I'm a fellow of the American College of International Physicians. I'm a member of the American Academy of Family Physicians, and I'm an affiliate member of the Royal Society of Medicine of England. I'm a member of the Medical Society of Rome, Italy, and actually for the entire Italian territory. I'm a member of the...
Yeah, this entire hour and 43 minutes, well, the beginning was them doing the debate, but the next hour and 10 minutes or so could be just this guy literally giving his journey to the stand here.
Società Italiana di Psichiatria, the Italian Society of Psychiatry.
We need Dan here to do an Italian accent for us.
I'm a member of the Italian Society of Gerontology and Geriatrics. I'm a clinical member of the International Academy of Behavioral Medicine. I'm a fellow of the German Academy for Psychoanalysis. I'm a fellow of the World Association for Dynamic Psychiatry. I am an alumnus of Duke University Medical School, and I'm also a member of the Friends of Mother Teresa of Calcutta Association. I don't know, do I have to continue?
Just let me ask a couple of questions in here. Sir?
Should I continue? Let's go.
We've heard something about board certification in this trial. Are you board certified?
Yes, I'm board certified in psychiatry since 1962.
1962.
And where are you licensed to practice your profession?
And obviously Wisconsin and Illinois and Italy. And I would say most of the
to that point, how does he have time to possibly do all this stuff? Like anybody in life, I'm talking like really people like movie stars, right? Like not just movie stars, people like on TV, just running shows, showrunners, people that not even just like celebrities, like people like this guy here that just their entire lives are chasing something, right? They go to college straight out of school, whether that's for law or whether that's for art or whatever it is. These people are chasing these careers their entire lives. Their whole lives are a journey to this end destination, it feels like, man. And it really blows my mind to that point again. How do they have time to do all this when you take into account family, life, friends, all the things that you would think that they would also have on the side, which they probably do, or maybe they don't have time for. I don't know. Or maybe some of these folks get married or don't get married. That's a factor there that you have to take into account. But just on my side of it, where I work a regular 40-hour job, plus I do this, and I have a family, it's hard. Like there's no time. So yeah, to the point of how does this guy have any kind of time to do all of this? Because that's to the point there. This dude is going through school endlessly, right? For fucking, I mean, if we could backtrack there just for a minute. I mean, he graduated the first time in 1951. We're a decade later. He's still adding certificates, right? Crazy. Like they dedicate their entire existence to science or to art or to whatever, again, pick whatever piece of whatever is in their alignment to go down. And again, it's different whether we're again, a lot of the things in this is law, right? But it's crazy. It blows my mind how people find the time to endlessly work like this.
European community countries.
Doctor, is it fair to say you've had quite a number of papers published?
Yes, I did.
Let me read every paper I've ever published.
I don't think that we need a complete listing of all the papers you've had published. But what I would like you to do, if there are several, 3 or 4 that have particularly relevance to the issues raised in this case, if you would share that information with the jury.
Of course, my writing has been mostly done during the past 4 years, because during the previous years I've been very much involved in full-time and too much probably in clinical psychiatry, office and hospital psychiatry. Since I came back to Milwaukee 4 years ago, even though I work my 10 hours a day.
This guy says that. Rich?
I have time, on my own time.
In 1900, baby.
I did a lot of collection of my thinking and the writing. So I published almost 35 papers in major international and American journals. Now, these papers vary because they go from sociology to psychiatry and even to general medicine. If I can probably give you an idea.
Hit the like a button. Hit the like a button. That's my Italian accent. And everyone left.
It's interesting that my secretary doesn't have my... Oh, he's here. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I will... One of my major papers has been published by the Journal of the Royal Society of Medicine in London. This is a very well-known journal which is refereed and deals with the following subject: on psychotherapist patient sex, a discussion paper. This paper was published exactly in 1990 and was reviewed by the British Journal of Psychiatry, extensively so, and I was very happy about it. Now, I wrote a lot of papers for Chicago Medicine concerning violent behavior, since I work in the forensic unit here in Milwaukee, and I'm in contact with a lot of violent people in the jail. So I wrote a lot of papers about the violent life. One is the violent, the other one is uncontrollable urges. I wrote a very interesting paper that...
I like that. Weed, murder, dogs, the Holy Trinity. Yes.
It was published by the Journal of Psychoactive Drugs here in the United States of America, which deals with the clinical diagnostic consideration on cocaine abuse and precisely with the differential diagnosis between paranoid schizophrenia and cocaine paranoia. This is because we see a lot of these cases. Also, I reviewed I wrote another interesting paper which has been published by the British Journal of Psychiatry, which deals with the 1978 Italian mental health law. And this was a personal evaluation. It was published in 1991. For the Journal of Dynamic Psychiatry, which has a large number of readers, I wrote and published the International Forensic Psychiatry Predictability of Dangerousness. This paper has been also actually published by, let me see here, because by the Journal of Forensic Sciences. This I reviewed a reviewed paper with some other authors and was published in 1991. I wrote a series of 6 papers for the Journal of, and they've been all accepted, and 3 of them have been published already. The others are coming out now. For the International Journal of Offender Therapy and Comparative Criminology, whose editor is at the Oregon State University, and consisting of the first one of jails versus mental hospital, because I'm very much interested in the consequences of the institutionalization in the United States of America. Then the second one was jails versus mental hospital, the Milwaukee approach to a social dilemma. Again, I wrote for Dynamic Psychiatry, the psychological and psychiatric aspects of victimization, which is in press.
Okay.
I have many more.
Yeah. I understand there are many more,
Yeah,
and if
many
either
more.
of the attorneys think that there's anyone that's particularly important, I'm sure they can bring that to the court's
Maybe I
attention.
can mention one, okay, that has been accepted and will be published in a few months by the Journal of Offender Therapy and Comparative Criminology, and this is a statistical analysis of referrals to a forensic unit, and the title is Escape from Psychiatrization.
What?
Escape from psychiatrization, meaning this. The meaning is this, is the following, that I found out that during the past years, after the process of the institutionalization, the mentally ill people have been criminalized. Recently, however, the mentally ill people are trying to escape this criminalization by themselves, and they come before the bench, the court, and they deny having mental illness because they think that they will be given a lesser sentence this way than to go for a long time to a mental hospital.
Okay, Doctor, upon your being appointed by the court to conduct an examination of the defendant, in this case, Mr. Dahmer, did you in fact examine him?
Yes, I did.
And as a result of that examination, did you make certain findings and come to certain conclusions?
Yes, I did.
Did you summarize those things in a report dated January 8th, 1992?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Vicky, would you,
Can I have a glass of water, Your Honor? Frank,
can we get some water for Dr. Palermo?
Sure. It's too close to me.
You can already see he talks with his
I
hands.
think we should share the fact that Dr. Palermo was in bed with the flu yesterday afternoon, so that
Yeah, I'm sorry.
we may have, it may not be as comfortable as possible for him testifying this morning. So this has already been right?
This is the first time we're arguing about he hasn't accepted.
Okay. Yep. Doctor,
That's true, Brooklyn. If I did all this stuff, I would list it all. That's true, right? Like, he's like, I did do all of this stuff. Like, there's a reason I'm an expert, and you're going to hear about it.
for purposes of identification,
Let me just post up here real quick. I'm going to get comfortable.
I show you a document that's been marked as Exhibit 36. Is that your report?
This is my report, Your Honor.
And you have a copy of that report?
Yes, I do have a copy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Doctor, basically what I'd like to ask you at this point is what your findings were, what you did in terms of examination.
Yes.
What your findings were and what your conclusions were. And in giving that testimony, you may refer to your report.
Okay, thank you.
Judge, for the sake of the record, it would be at this time that I would have the right to voir dire. I am waiving that right. I know Dr. Palermo.
I'm sorry, I thought I inquired.
No, you didn't inquire.
I'm sorry.
I just want to make it clear I have no
Do you have-
questions. I have no
Mr.
questions of
Mr.
Dr.
McCann?
None, Your Honor.
Okay.
Okay. Your Honor, I will have to refer to my report, and I will expound on my report if you allow me, for the benefit of the jury. Pursuant to your court order and to the Wisconsin statute.
And I'm also just going to say, folks, get comfortable with this gentleman, because we're going to be with him throughout the rest of today and the beginning of next week. So he's on the stand for a long time. CR coming through this morning. Good morning, CR. Passing the plate. $10 coming through. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. I'm a bad man. Thank you so much, CR. CR always coming through here. One of the OGs here at Publicly Buzzed. But yeah, get, again, familiar with this guy. I'm going to imagine a lot of hand talking going on. So it's going to be interesting. And again, we know that he has been gathering credentials for more than half of his life. So
971.16. I examined.
Some people just enjoy being on the stand, right? The one, I believe it was the police officer from the Melly trial, one of the first ones. that was up there. I think he was a British dude, maybe from the UK, that was just so animated. Like, and you see him all the time in all these trials. There was a couple in the Murdoch trial. There was a couple in the Johnny Depp trial that are just like overly animated up there. They just kind of enjoy it. You can see they're kind of getting off on it. It's interesting. Different personalities.
Jeffrey Dahmer, in order to assess whether at the time of the offenses with which he has been charged, he was legally sane or legally insane. The defendant is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 13 counts of first-degree intentional homicide. The defendant was previously convicted in the Circuit Court of Milwaukee County in case number F-882515 of the felony offenses of second degree.
Yeah, they keep flashing Dahmer's dad randomly in the gallery there. His hair is pretty wild.
Sexual assault and enticing a child for immoral purposes. The defendant was examined by me on 4 different occasions. On October 14, 1991, in the Milwaukee County Jail Library Room for 3.5 hours. On October 19, 1991, Milwaukee County Jail Library Room for 3.5 hours. On November 20, 1991, Milwaukee County Jail Library Room for 3 hours. On January 4, 1992, Milwaukee was examined again in the Milwaukee County Jail Library Room in conjoint examination with
just a real question that I really want to ask you guys right quick. I would love to go to Italy just because I always hear about the food and how much different it is than the same foods we have. Pastas and whatnot, and even pizza, and how people in Italy can eat the shit out of the same type of foods that we eat here in America, and I guess it's just not loaded with all the bullshit, right? With all the sugars and all the trans fat and all the fake stuff. Like, anybody in the chat here been to Italy or even lives in Italy, perhaps? Like, the real question is the difference from eating we'll just take spaghetti, a plate of spaghetti. My favorite food is lasagna here in America, and then immediately going to Italy and eating the same thing. How much different is that going to be? I'm saying more natural. Like, I would love to go to Italy and experience this. I've heard it from many different people. Actually, this is an interesting, where I work, we deal with a company that makes equipment. I work for a company that sells restaurant equipment, and they get literally fine made equipment actually made and shipped from Italy to the United States or wherever it's sold to. But, we had somebody come from that actual location in Italy, and they came over and they were, trying to push their products. But in doing so, if somebody or so many different people could sell so many things, an incentive, basically they could get a free trip to Italy. And some people in my company actually accomplished that. And I always was so jealous because I thought that was so wild that they got a free trip to Italy. But again, man, I would like to this is a fat dude talking. I would like to just go for the food. I think that would be freaking awesome. Yes, Jay, I freaking love lasagna. That's my favorite food ever. Everybody that saw on Twitter not long ago, my fiance literally makes the best lasagna I've ever had in my life. Like, I'm not fucking joking when I say that. Like, I love lasagna. I am Garfield. Like, I will eat an entire thing of lasagna to myself in a week. Like, if you just leave it there, that's fine. That's going to be lunch. That's going to be dinner. That's going to be possibly some breakfast. Like, I love lasagna. But I like Italian food in general, though. I'm going on an Italian rant right now, and I would just love to go to Italy one day. And maybe me and Jay, and maybe the families, can go together to Italy. Wouldn't that be amazing? We're going to get Dan. We're going to get his wife. We're going to get Jay. We're going to get Shan. We're going to have a family trip. What am I saying? It's just going to be a family trip. We're just going to go with Dad, Mom to fucking Italy, baby. Let's go.
I'm Friedman, PhD, for 2.5 hours. As usual, prior to starting the examination, I introduce myself as a court-appointed psychiatrist, and I advise the defendant of the non-confidentiality of the examination and of his constitutional rights.
Hey, now, that's a whole nother reason. I'm talking about food, and I would love to go for the food, but holy shit, let's be real. It would be cool to go to. It would be cool. I love the United States of America. I really do. But it would be cool to go to travel all these different countries, man. I'd love to go to Asian countries, European countries, just because they've been here for so freaking long. The history. I love history. I love shit like that. Man, I would love to just go look at the fucking buildings. Yeah, the architecture, like the history in a lot of these places. Oh, man.
Understood the provisions and gave his consent to the examination. The defendant, as you see, is a young white male.
We're taking everybody, baby. We're taking everybody. Bo Party is going all the way, baby. All the way to Italy. J-Buzz Station trip.
31 years old, with light complexion, tall, well-developed, and well-nourished. His hair is brownish blonde, and his face was unshaven during most
a cannibal murder trial. Please don't say well-nourished again, sir. I'm just gonna ask that of you, please.
The interviews. His posture was erect, his ambulation was normal, and on observation,
and now he's erect.
There was no presence of any neurological deficits, unusual facial mimicry, facial movements, tics or mannerisms. He sat up straight in his chair, somewhat tense, only during the first part of the first interview, and his attitude was one of cooperation.
Wow, that's amazing, Charlotte. Yeah, 14 getting to go. That's amazing. Hell, what a cool experience.
And friendliness. He was actually amiable.
Man.
He appeared to be calm and free from any emotional lability. His speech was clear, understandable. His answers or statements were coherent and relevant, and his ideas progressed in a logical way. There was no presence of circumstantial, roundabout.
Oh my God! I would love to go to Ireland. So, for obvious reasons, I'm highly Irish. I would love to go to Ireland. Yes, we're going to Europe. Backpacking to Europe at 36 years old, baby. J-Buzz Station, let's go! Everybody's coming.
Thinking, tangential, going off on a tangent, or disorganized thinking. At no time did he exhibit delusional or hallucinatory ideas. At times he showed spontaneity, but most of the time he limited himself to answering the questions posed to him. His answers were fully explanatory to the point. He showed a reflective capacity when so engaged by the examiner, and unimpaired and rational thinking while discussing the events of his past life and the charges against him for which he assumed complete responsibility as the only actor. At this point, I would like to, for the benefit of the jury, I would like to say that the many symptoms that I described that he didn't have are usually part of a psychotic condition. In other words, circumstantial behavior, thinking, tangential thinking, disorganized thinking, loosening of association of ideas, delusional in thoughts or hallucinatory experiences. A flattened affect is usually synonymous in psychiatry and for us of psychosis. The defendant did not appear psychotic to me at that time. At the time, he appeared to be of a high intelligence. I think he's a very intelligent young man, and he had a certain degree of emotional tranquility and easiness while discussing the matters at hand. The examiner felt that the defendant was almost relieved to unburden his conscience of many painful memories. He identified himself correctly and stated that he was born in Milwaukee on 5/21/60. Actually, he was born at Deaconess Hospital, he told me. He recounted a number of family moves during his childhood due to his father's moving for his own studies and his work. Actually, he moved from Wisconsin to Iowa and finally to Ohio. And in Ohio, after changing residence several times, he stated that they settled in Bath, Ohio. where he attended Revere High School, from which he graduated at the age of 18. He gave his grades as having been mostly at a C level. And the reason was that this young man was already doing some marijuana, was drinking somewhat, and the drinking eventually increased when he went to college.
Ooh, Spain. I'd go to Spain now.
He remembers himself in childhood and adolescence as a loner, surrounded by arguing parents at home and, quote, arrogant jerks, unquote, in school. He already had some problems. And they stated again, they picked on me because they were bigger, unquote. He admitted to angry feelings and to his inability to express his anger openly, afraid that it could make matters worse. Actually, this is one of the essential characteristics of Jeffrey Dahmer, that he has been unable to express his hostility, and his hostility, I retain, has eventually mounted to such a degree that has led to many of the things that he is tried here for. He felt angry at his parents, especially during the pre-divorce period, because of the frequent arguments between them. When he was not sulking, he would walk out of the house into the wooded areas nearby and get rid of his angry feelings by beating sizable tree branches against tree trunks. At the time of my interview with his brother David, I happened to interview his brother. I wanted to interview his mother and father, which I did. The brother was interviewed by myself alone, while we, together with Dr. Friedman, we interviewed his parents. The mother is in California. The father is at present time present here. At the time of my interview with his brother David, who is 6 years younger, his brother told me, quote, I could hear the noise from inside the house for a pretty long time, and he was, unquote, he was referring to when his older brother was getting mad and he would not express his anger. He would go out in his backyard and...
Shit. Art with Viv coming through this on this good morning with a $9.99. Thank you. Appreciate that, Viv.
Give me the loot. Give me the loot.
I'm a bad, bad man. Thank you so much. Adding that to the collection plate there, Viv. Appreciate that. Love it. Love it. I'll throw you a hell yeah, a murder church, and some deuces there in the chat. Appreciate that, Viv. And anybody that's not following Art with Viv, please do so. As I hit play here, I'm going to go and get her YouTube and her Twitter and post those in my... And dude, I'm also going to get Viv one of these fancy little guys right here. Viv, look at this. See how that pops up, Jay's information? I'm going to get you one of those going in real time as well. Boom.
You know, release his...
You should be following
by
Viv. Not only for her art, but for Mr. Darcy, her amazing dog.
Beating sizable tree branches against the tree trunks. The defendant became interested in taxonomy and displayed a collection of insects, moths, butterflies, etc., at school. His brother David, when interviewed, stated that Jeffrey was also interested in dissecting small animals such as tadpoles and using formaldehyde to preserve them. And that at times he used to point out the various organs to me, he said. In other words, he was already interested in some comparative anatomy. The defendant does not seem to recollect the above events recounted by his brother, even though he admitted that, quote, when I was 15 or 16, I had a compulsive interest in dissecting some animals that I found dead on the road. I did it 4 or 5 times. I was going to keep their bones and make a statue.
Well,
out of them like a taxidermist does. He became involved with this
taking up too much power. Hold on 1 second. There we go.
That many children, many adolescents do have. It's not a sign of mental illness, obviously. But I never got to it. I used a knife, some type of large knife. The animals were mostly dogs or foxes, which...
Boom! Right there in the chat, Viv. Look at that. And also on Twitter, folks, you're going to be following her as well. She gives tips on Tuesdays, art tips, and then on Fridays you're going to be want to be following, because you're going to get to see how excited Mr. Darcy gets on a Chick-fil-A trip. He gets so freaking excited. I had a dog once, or my parents and the family had a dog once, who I've never seen a dog. You know, if we had chicken nuggets from McDonald's or chicken nuggets from the store, any chicken nuggets, fine, whatever. Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets, ballistic, lost its ever-loving mind. But also, please follow her on Twitter as well. Part of the gang here. Boom. And now you can also activate her YouTube channel by typing in exclamation point and Viv in all caps. Boom. We out here, Viv. We out here. Lakota coming through. Boom. $9.99. Church dues and such. Thank you so much. Coming through and filling up the bucket. Boom. Thank you so much, Dakota. Appreciate that. That's amazing. But yeah, got that going in real time there for Viv. Austin coming through here. Good morning. And she's in a Benadryl coma. Hope you're doing a little bit better this morning. Mr. Darcy is the freaking best. I'm telling you, you're going to come for the art and you're going to stay and hang out with Mr. Darcy because he's amazing. And yeah, her entire channel rules, and her entire vibe fucking rules. Okay. Boom.
He states to me that he found dead on the road.
Nice.
He also stated that during that period he was doing some dissection in biology classes at school as a part of his curriculum. And he remembers taking home the head of a pig from school and keeping the skull. I kept it pretty secret, he said. We lived in a wooded area. During his early adolescence, he also was involved in homosexual experimentation with one of his friends, of the friends he chummed around with.
Look at that! Look at that on the fly, baby! I was just like, let me do it real quick. Boom! Felt like Dan right there for a moment. I felt like I had the confidence of Dan with only the tips, just for a moment. Boom! 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 Hold on. I get the sound effect. Boom!
Several years, but he stated it, quote, only 4 or 5 times, unquote. His brother, David Dahmer, remembers that the defendant used to go out with 3 friends and with one in particular. Quote, they pulled him down to the level of being nerdish. Apparently something was going on with this young man, Jeffrey Dahmer. David also said that his brother Jeffrey was involved in streaking and drinking with his friends, all normal things for that age. Even though his brother stated that Jeffrey used to drink alcohol already at the age of 13, the defendant stated that most of his drinking and smoking of marijuana started at age 17. Beer and hard liquor with friends, not less than a 6-pack a day, and more so in college. Mixed drinks and wine, he said. He experienced drunkenness and hangovers, but was never hospitalized for them. Mr. Dahmer stated that between the ages of 17 and 18, he experimented with marijuana and hashish, 3 to 4 joints a day, alone or with others. He remembers passing out several times. The defendant's self-concept during childhood and adolescence was a poor one. He stated, I was a loner and felt picked on by other boys, but I never got into a fight. I masturbated daily from 14 on until present time. I never enjoyed sports. I always thought the other guys were better than me. Apparently his father tried to involve him in playing tennis, but even though he was a good player, he never believed in himself. So his father told me. I was envious of other boys, he says. At times I felt so angry that I would have thoughts of killing them. I suppose many of us at times might have the similar thoughts. When masturbating, I would look at pictures of good-looking guys in magazines, trim with good muscle tone, youngish, not older than 30 years old, 30. There was no racial preferences, he said. In fantasies, I admired their physical appearance, and I used to think of myself lying in bed with the man from the magazine as a male, he himself, Jeffrey Dahmer, as a male, not a female. He later told me that his role in his homosexual encounters was always an active one. He also stated that he had never had any heterosexual experiences. These sexual fantasies that Mr. Dahmer had since, many years ago, actually always involved his desire, until the time I met him, his desire to be close and to another man. He never told me that his primary fantasy was of destroying this particular person that he searched for, he would have wanted. He never told me that his main purpose to meet a person, a man in this case, to make love or be loved by them or by him, would have been to eventually destroy him. He never said that to me. The defendant talked about his increasing frustration with his home life during the latter part of his adolescence. He also felt frustrated about his increased weight. He gained many pounds. He reached 290 pounds, he told me, following his continuous use of marijuana, which is a very common, frequent occurrence at times, especially during that period of life, 16, 18. He felt
1618.
Somewhat uncomfortable and frustrated when having to start new relationships. This is a continuous theme with Jeffrey Dahmer. He has been always, for him, has been always difficult to relate to other people. That's why in my eventual diagnosis, I describe him as having several features of several different personalities. Not that he's a multi-personality.
Yeah, Will, he does say that wonderfully. That'd be a great clip.
Don't say that.
Marijuana.
He was frustrated by his father's strict demands on him and his mother's unpredictable and argumentative behavior with his father and with him. Apparently, his mother, when he was a young boy, was emotionally disturbed. I don't think that she was psychotic, but I do feel that she had to be hospitalized, not in a mental hospital, in a mental ward of a hospital, where she was given Elavil for depression. Elavil is an antidepressant. So she was not a schizophrenic, and nowadays she's somewhat successful, even though from my conversation with her, she seems to be quite an anxious person. It is worth mentioning that his brother David stated to me on 12/30/91, I remember Jeff as a withdrawn person, never smiling, doing things only when prompted by mom and dad, and when angry would storm out of the house, go to the wooded backyard, smashing wooden sticks against the trees. Jeffrey, he said, was prone to lying and deceit at home, for which he was reprimanded. That's what his brother said. I suppose many youngsters do lie. It's not an unusual thing. So I suppose that Jeffrey could not tell the truth at times if he was smoking marijuana, not studying properly.
Smoking that damn marijuana out here. How the hell can he tell the truth if he's smoking that damn devil's lettuce, fogging his thoughts? I couldn't imagine.
He might have been lying for that. The thing, though, however, is that further in pursuing the examination, And reviewing the many records, it came to my attention that Jeffrey Dahmer continued to lie later on when he was much older. I believe that he lied to the judge when he was in court in 1991 and 1989 after his first arrest. He lied to the judge, he lied to his own lawyer because his lawyer was not aware of what he had been doing so far. He actually, by that time, he had 2 or 3 homicides. He lied to the many doctors when he wanted to get the pills that he needed. And he actually told them that he was, because he was working at night, which is probably true, he was not able to sleep well, but the purpose was to secure these pills for other reasons. So he lied. And I suppose it is my feeling that he has embellished a great deal. He's recounting of the things that he had been doing, and he would have wanted to do in a self-serving manner. So I do consider that his adolescent line has carried over to the present. The defendant stated that he never felt jealous of his younger brother and had accepted him fully. Actually, the defendant chose his brother's name, the mother told me, according to his mother in my telephone interview with her on 12/23/91. At college in Columbus, Ohio, his heavy drinking continued, and he felt directionless, he said, without direction. I didn't have clear ideas, he said. My drinking was increasing. I felt I wasn't fitting into any particular group. After a semester, Jeffrey Dahmer joined the Army at his father's suggestion. He went through basic training, and he seems to be proud of it, because he made it. Indeed, he told me that the son of an officer was not able to make it, but he did. And there was no reason why he could not make it. He was, in good health. He became a medic, and after 2 weeks, he was transferred to Germany. He was stationed at Baumholder, 40 miles from Frankfurt. That was in 1981. And he says, I was taught basic CPR, how to set bones, which I underline, and stop bleeding, medication dispensing, etc. Unquote. He admits to heavy drinking, beer, a 6 or 12 pack at night, and at times brandy, wine, or Jägermeister, which is an after drink.
Jägermeister, now that was a good one. You could clip so many words from this fellow.
German after, very good, but there was
He had to stop himself on that one. He's wanting some Jaeger. Jägermeister. I can't even do it. I can't even do it justice.
There was a period where I was
smash that like right into the fucking ground. Boom! That really helps us out here, Publicly Buzzed, and I'm not joking, folks. Do it.
I'm telling you like it is, baby.
People thought that it was not the best drink and was taken out of the market. Quote, I was a drunk, he said, once I found myself in Hamburg. Instead of stopping in Frankfurt on my way back to Munich, from Munich. He was intoxicated. I could not stop drinking. I got into some fights and yelling matches. My sexual activity at that time was limited to pornographic magazines and masturbation. He disclaims any romantic or no romantic homosexual relations, while in Germany, stating that he would have been afraid of having them there. It is hard to believe for me that he did so. He didn't do it. Back in the United States in March of 1981, after a few months in Miami and 3 months with his father in Ohio, Jeffrey Dahmer,
I want to suck your blood.
Together with his father, he decided that he would come to Milwaukee and live with his grandmother. His grandmother, I think, was a teacher, if I don't make a mistake, and his grandfather was a principal in a school. But they were very good people, and they accepted him. And he stayed with them for some time, actually, long time. And the reason why he came to Milwaukee was because he was drinking heavily. Throughout the interviews, the defendant was at all times at ease and apparently comfortable. He did not smoke with me. And I interviewed him for 12 hours, Your Honor. He talked with me very amiably, and he was one of the best cooperative persons. His speech was always coherent and relevant, meaning by that his words, whatever he said was making sense, and his answers were relevant to my questions. And his ideas progressed logically. He was fully cooperative. His affect was appropriate to the situation, even though he was minimally depressed because of the circumstances, which is understandable. His memory for past and recent events was good. He showed a minimally depressed mood, but not detachment. There was no detachment. He stated that he felt he had to tell his story so that his conscience would not bother him so much. Again, I state this for you, that again, I stress the fact that Jeffrey Dahmer was not psychotic.
Austin Rain's going to add to the plate this morning. $4.99. Passing the plate around. Thank you, Austin. Appreciate that.
Give me the loot. Give me the loot.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. I'm also going to hit you because I haven't hit anybody with him yet. He's going to get, I don't think maybe I did. I don't know. Maybe I haven't. Either way, he needs to be heard.
I'm sober enough to know what I'm doing, and I'm drunk enough to really enjoy doing it.
Yes. Thank you again, Austin.
When I interviewed him, and there was no reason to believe at that particular time that he had any of the symptoms of what we call a remnant psychotic behavior, psychotic disease, like schizophrenia, manic depressive psychosis, delusional psychotic behavior, and so on. That's a different thing. He didn't show anything like that. Mr. Dahmer stated that he lived with his grandmother at 2357 South 57th Street in West Allis for 8 years, beginning in October 1981. During part of that period, his drinking was described as not bad. I would drink only on weekends. But he added that he soon began to drink more at local taverns.
Oh,
and
100% Charlotte. That's what's been so intriguing about this entire trial to me personally so far. I didn't know what to expect coming into this. I kind of picked it just because, I mean, I figured it would be a popular one, just to be honest. Coming off the Netflix thing, I know that's been a while back, but still, one of the most popular serial killers is Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm like, you want people to see this in the thumbnail and be like, oh shit, let's see the old Jeffrey Dahmer thing. I was pretty familiar with the trial. Well, not the trial, but the case, I should say. Not familiar with the trial whatsoever. Once we actually started into this, holy shit, it's completely different than what I thought. First of all, I didn't know, I guess I didn't even put it into perspective that he gave everything out the gate. He was confessing. He wasn't trying to hide anything. So this is an insanity trial. They're trying to figure out whether this man is crazy, he needs to go to a hospital, or whether he needs to go to prison. So all the arguments and all the experts that we're seeing on the stand, it's super, super interesting to me. Again, it's really not unlike any trial that I've seen before. I know I'm extremely new to this and early into doing these trials and watching trials, but this one's been different. It's been intriguing. It's not necessarily, I don't know. It's just interesting. The angle that they're all coming from. And I'm talking about the judge, I'm talking about the defense, I'm talking about the state, because they're all still fighting to put this man, well, one side is still fighting to put this man away, and the other is fighting to put him away in a different manner, a way of speaking. We know what happened in prison, right? I've said this ad nauseum now on Sundays, but it deserves to be resaid because, at this point in time, you kind of have to travel back in time and put yourself as if we're spectators in real time almost. You kind of have to forget about what we know what actually happened in a couple of years to Jeffrey Dahmer in prison. And think about the arguments, man. We've had a great time here. It's been, and again, I feel like we have a different crowd than we have on the nighttime shows. It's been awesome. Murder Church is rocking and rolling, guys. Thank you all again for being here, hanging out. Appreciate it.
That at times, quote, I would drink too much, unquote. He would return home at 2 or 3 a.m., or occasionally he would stay out all night. He stated that he was arrested for disorderly conduct, drunkenness, once in West Alice.
That's interesting. And little things like that, that's a psychological play, right? He's in there. I'm sure he's being offered cigarettes. He wants to smoke, but he's trying to somehow stand tough but not smoking. What? He maybe has so little control left. I would honestly imagine he has this small little to be able to show the doctor, hey, I can control this. Watch. I bet he wanted one immediately after, though. That's interesting.
Twice in Milwaukee. I was only jailed overnight, he said. He was fired from his job at the Blood Plasma Bank on State Street in Milwaukee after 1 year for poor performance. And he stated to me, I did not like to stick people with needles. Strange, because he was trained as a medic, and I suppose that this is self-serving. He did temporary odd jobs until he was hired by the Ambrosia Chocolate Company, where he worked for 7 consecutive years. The defendant claims that during the time he resided at his grandmother's, he tried to stop drinking and also to stop his homosexual behavior. I tried to turn my life around.
Needs a drink. I need a drink. We all need a drink.
I started going to church with my grandmother. I didn't drink for 2 years until one day, while in a public library, reading a book and minding my own business, a guy handed a note to me. In the note, he invited me to have sex with him downstairs in the library bathroom. Even though at the time he dismissed the offer, the defendant claims that that episode turned his life for the worse. I started drinking again, he said, and heavily, going to porno bookstores, gay bars, bathhouses. I was still living at my grandmother's house. At the bathhouses, I started my homosexual behavior again, and there I began to experiment with prescription drugs. I want to expound on this and say this, that Mr. Dahmer went to the bathhouses. He went to the bathhouses because he wanted to have a sexual encounter, a sexual intercourse with the people who frequent the bathhouse. He went there, and his idea was to find the subjects that he would like, obviously, and to engage in homosexual activity with them, to a point, because he did not want that those people would perform anal intercourse with him, rectal intercourse. Therefore, while he was going to have rectal intercourse with them, he didn't like for them to do it to him. And it is possible that at that particular time, as he told me, the potion that he used was to put these people in a very relaxed way, and maybe reach the point of sleepiness, so he could, as he told me, leave the bathhouse and not consent to the same type of behavior that he wanted from them. Okay, in 1989, I was charged with and convicted of second-degree sexual assault and enticing a child for immoral purposes. I mentioned this before. I had to report to WCS, and I was placed on probation for 5 years. In 1989, he moved to the Oxford apartment at 924 North 25th Street. After actually, he went to, if I remember well, he went to stay with his grandmother again for 6 months during this offense. But then he moved out again. He moved to the Oxford apartment because it was close to work and the rent was low. I want to get a place of my own. He obviously wanted to be free from his grandmother's supervision and did not want his drinking behavior to upset her any longer. And so he said. Specifically, question about the offenses is charged
can't run.
with. In a calm and spontaneous fashion, he explained to the examiner that the present charges do not include. He spontaneously did that because I didn't know anything about it when I met him, honestly. I had the police complaint, and I was going along with the police complaint. He said, wait a second, this is not the first one. The first one that I killed, accidentally or not, that apparently was killed, was in one Milwaukee hotel. That was the first case in Milwaukee, he said. It was a long time from the first incident in Ohio. He also explained spontaneously the Ohio incident, which he dated back to 1978 or 79. And upon further questioning regarding any other important memories relevant to the topic we were going to discuss, he stated, I remember that when I was 15, I saw a guy about 18 years old while I was walking about 5 miles away from home. At that time, I had the thought of sawing a baseball bat in two to make it small enough to carry on a bike. I liked him, and I had the idea of hitting him on the head and having sex with him. Those are the words that he stated. At that time, he didn't have any idea of killing anybody. That's what surprises me about what is going on in this trial. Question about his first two offenses. First-degree murder. He readily stated that they had occurred prior.
Brooklyn coming through with the knowledge on some angel dust and formaldehyde. Jesus, I didn't know any of that stuff. That's crazy.
To his conviction for sexual molestation, and while he was still residing at his grandmother's home. The defendant calmly discussed with the examiner the 2 counts of first-degree murder and the 13 counts of first-degree intentional homicide. During the recounting of each of the offenses he's charged with, Jeffrey Dahmer spoke in a coherent and relevant manner. His thinking followed a logical sequence. He was calm and in complete control of his emotions. He was able to go into specific details about the enticement.
I missed that, Shelley. He called a 6-pack of beer a 6 o'clock pack of beer.
And sexual seduction of his victims. Love-making, use of drinks, his killing of them by knifing or strangling, his photographing the dead persons or parts of dead bodies, his disposal of the dead bodies by crushing bones, by cutting, dismembering, disemboweling them, boiling the flesh, and his attempt to preserve them. He also mentioned to me that at one time or 2 times he tried to eat some of the flesh, and as we will see, he also mentioned to me that he had 4 times attempted and probably had sexual intercourse with some of the victims. I think it was only 4 or 5 times. And was limited to rectal intercourse, and at only one time, I think he put their penis in his mouth, or his penis in their mouth.
Glad you cleared that up for us.
The above behavior during his killing was not, I thought, from what he described, part of a frenzy type of behavior, that he was disorganized. But it was every time the outcome of a calculated, prearranged plan that the defendant was able to carry out. So calculated and prearranged that he bought so many different things in order to carry out whatever he wanted to do. He bought a freezer, a refrigerator, to put the parts that he had dismembered. He bought a big, I think 85 pounds drum, where he put some of the bodies, and especially the skulls, in order to deflesh them, as he said.
Triggers all over this thing,
he
of course.
Many things. He described how he obtained all the necessary items for such heinous crimes, and how he decided to secure his apartment with a high-quality security system. He had a high-quality security system. He didn't want other people to enter his house, and all people get out of the house.
High quality is a bunch of locks, right? You didn't have nothing like too crazy.
He also told me that because of the neighborhood where he was, he was a little bit scared. The defendant was certainly motivated, driven, I said, but in the sense of being motivated by a tremendous amount of repressed hostility, frustrated desire, intense feelings of fear and rejection, as exemplified by several of his own statements. I wanted to keep, he said, I wanted to keep him there. I did not want to lose him. I found him very good looking. I wanted to keep some memorials of him. We are talking about now the skulls, we are talking about the hands, the penis that he cut and so on, which are, in my way of seeing, are all fetishes. These are fetish that he preserved. Indeed, there is a very famous sexologist, actually probably the most important sexologist in the world, by the name of Kraft-Ebing, a German, who described in Psychopathia Sexualis, in the third chapter of his book, which deals with fetishism, that the major, most important fetish is not a garment or a shoe, whatever you want to call, stockings and so on, but it's a part of the human body. A part of the human body. It may also be a part of our own human body, like we, at times, we caress our hands, we look at, with a certain pleasure at parts of our bodies, like at times people like their legs and so on. So there is a fetish is primarily a part of the human body that nowadays they may call in this new nomenclature somewhat different, but this is what is primarily. Secondary becomes a garment, a shoe, a stocking, and so on. I continue to lie next to his dead body, kissing him. It was not hate or love. It was lust. Lust would be a better word. It is possible, I reflect, that the above feelings and a basic ambivalence, he was very affectionate, he was so nice to me, together with his sexual sadism, which I believe he was a sexually sadist, because some of what is called necrophilia, until not too long ago, was actually part of sexual sadism. It is logical that if you, the activity of Jeffrey Dahmer in his own disordered condition was certainly sadistic. We must say that. It's not a question of, it's not pleasant to be used by other people, by someone, and to be killed, cut, and so on. That's a sadistic behavior. Actually worse than if the individual would actually suffer, as here somebody said that that Jeffrey Dahmer in his own illness was a mercy killer because he had avoided these people to have pains while he was killing them. He was very affectionate, he said. He was so nice to me, together with his sexual sadism, were at the basis of his wanting to keep his victims half alive, in a zombie-like state, by drilling holes into their skulls and injecting muriatic acid into their brains. At this point, I would like to expound a little on my research and my finding, because after I read, I understood this, and Actually, even after I wrote this report, I want to consult with the medical examiner. I went to see the medical examiner because the idea of what Jeffrey Dahmer told me was different from what Jeffrey Dahmer told in his confession to the police officers. In his confession to the police officers, page, I don't remember now, but maybe I will find it here. Page 131, he talks about drilling. But before he talks about drilling, Jeffrey Dahmer says, I decapitated the people. I decapitated
this part of the, and this to Coco's point here, did he say acid on the brains? Yeah, this part right here, when I was first, honestly started reading about serial killers way back in high school, I was always taken aback by the Jeffrey Dahmer stuff when you would start to get into the zombie making stuff. The literal horror movie, it read like a horror movie, right? Drilling the hole into the head, pouring acid into the head, hoping that you're somehow going, I don't even understand, because he even said, this psychiatrist said that Jeffrey Dahmer's a smart guy. We've seen interviews with Jeffrey Dahmer. He's not stupid. Like, is he just so obsessed in the moment? Like, this is going to work. I'm going to drill a hole into this individual's head, pour this acid in, and somehow, I mean, was it for my question was it for just the convulsions, right? Because the body is going to start convulsing out of control. You're not going to be able to keep somebody alive by doing this. There's no foreseeable way. This is like B-movie stuff. So this always, like, from reading the story way back in the day and always knowing this part of the story, has always just been like, holy fucking shit. Like, that's the most outlandish, wildest shit that has crossed over, but I mean, what the fuck?
People.
Wow.
Cut their head.
Dark stuff. Again, trigger warning on all this stuff. Everything here, mostly. We keep it lighthearted, but it gets pretty fucking dark.
Place these heads on a table, and after he put them into this drum to be defleshed, then they ended up on a table. He drilled the skulls then, not when these people were alive.
Good to see you.
I think it would be a mistake to think that he drilled the skulls when these people were alive. He drilled the skulls in order to, as stated by him in the report, page 131, when he had already decapitated these people. To do what? He drilled, because then he poured muriatic acid into the holes. He made 4 holes, one on the top of the skull, and in order to...
Muriatic acid. Hydrochloric acid into the skull. Excuse me. Dahmer injected hydrochloric acid into the skull of his victims in an effort to disable his will and render him submissive, although on this occasion the drilling, and this is one of the victims specifically I'm reading this for, the drilling and injection proved fatal. Of course it did.
Liquefy the brain.
It liquefied the brain!
He well explained to the police officers. And I think that this is the more appropriate version of what he did, even though there is one head in the coroner's office that still has hair and scalp and hair, and there is a drilling tract that went down to about 1 or 2 centimeters and so on. Now, in discussing this with the medical examiner, it is my opinion, not the medical examiner's opinion, and my opinion, after consulting also with a neuropathologist here in Milwaukee, that the drilling in the head that we do have probably was done afterwards, and not before. Now, let me see where I was. I don't think actually Jeffrey Dahmer would have reached that point, because basically Jeffrey Dahmer is strange to say, but he's not such a bad person, even though he did what he did. Jeffrey Dahmer suffers from a serious personality disorder, which needs to be treated, but a serious personality disorder, but he's not psychotic. That's what the point I want to make, and at this point I say also, and he's not legally insane, but I will come to that. Nobody can deny Jeffrey Dahmer is a sick person, but he's not psychotic.
The line. The fine line there.
Okay, let me see where I was, because I got a little bit off. Okay. Question about his own feelings concerning his unconscionable crimes is stated. I always wished to have control over events. I often fantasized that I was always able to get what I wanted.
Oh. Megzy coming through. Megzy knows a lot about this case as well, but interesting.
Power, sex, and money. I made my fantasies more powerful than my real life. Further question about whether he derived any satisfaction or thrill from his actions, he stated, yes, I got a kick out of it, but I wasn't really completely satisfied. It was giving me some pleasure. I believe it was like a compulsion, but a compulsion that in my estimation he could control if so wanted. He also stated that during his killing sprees he had been drinking, but that he was quite aware of what was taking place. The defendant did not seem to have a great deal of remorse for his killings, even though he said that he was sorry, but he didn't appear to be very remorseful. He seemed to want to emphasize that lust and power were at the basis of his actions. He was also concerned about the media interpretation, that his behavior was racially oriented, and appeared to be frightened by the possible consequences of the above, since he is in a jail, prison environment in which he is surrounded by so many black inmates. To this point, I would like to say that I myself, I don't think that this was racially oriented. I think this was, it was not even, in a sense, homosexually oriented. He didn't have anything against homosexuals. He didn't have anything against black people or Asian people. He happened to do what he did with the people that he thought could have been easy prey to what he wanted to do. Not because he hated homosexuals, not because he hated black people, but because he was dealing and using his homosexuality as a vehicle for his own aggressivity or aggression. I interviewed via phone the natural mother of Jeffrey Dahmer.
That's interesting. That he's claiming the zombifying story was a complete lie and will get corrected later. This might be a good time to bring out the notes he took.
Rocky Dahmer on 12/23/91.
So yeah, and Megzy sent this over in the in Discord, but as you can see, Dahmer's been writing here as well. And again, thank you, Megzy, for doing this. Yeah, I've got this right here. This is what Jeffrey Dahmer's response from Jeffrey Dahmer. Here is the text of Jeffrey Dahmer's note responding to earlier testimony. The handwritten note released through his attorney includes underlining, make sure this is on here, good, underlining explanation points and a misspelling. 1, I never said, and again, this underline, he's like, I never said I was afraid of any fellow prisoners, white or black. I told Palermo that their insults were irritating. Is Palermo going senile, or is he trying to distort my words? 2, 10 of the victims were black, not 11. Again, underlining not 11. 3, I never said I got a kick out of it, explanation point. And 4, my weight during my last year of high school was 210, not 290, explanation point. So yeah, thank you, Megzy, for sending that, because I didn't even know that existed. That's so fucking interesting and such a nice little tidbit to add to this.
I also interviewed the defendant's father, Lionel Dahmer. and his present wife, Sherry, on 12/29/91, and the defendant's brother, David Dahmer, also on 12/30/91. The above interviews corroborated what Jeffrey Dahmer himself had already stated. His mother stated, he was never happy in school, a loner. It hurt to send him to school. He would cry. Jeff never really exhibited initiative. He felt inadequate. He felt inferior. He was a withdrawn child, stated his father. His brother David added, he drank from the age of 13. He was withdrawn. He could not express anger, and went on cycles of anger and withdrawn behavior. This is why in my diagnosis coming up pretty soon, I stressed that the defendant Jeffrey Dahmer has a personality disorder, very severe, a mixed personality disorder, very severe with many different features. He has borderline features, for instance, because he's unable to relate to people, to engage into a good, stable friendship. He's moody. He becomes moody, at times occasionally depressed, not psychotically so, but he changes his mood. This is a part of the borderline personality. Like his behavior is part of a psychopathic personality too. Like his behavior has some obsessive compulsive features. Like his behavior is sadistic in features. So the mixed personality is a jamboree of many things all together in a very, very sick person, but not psychotic. Actually, most murders, in my research, are not committed by psychotic people or mentally ill people. They're committed by people who have personality disorders. Let's see. Okay, the above interviews also reveal the Dahmer's family to have been a dysfunctional one. A great deal of arguing over a period of many years leading to a traumatic divorce left the defendant feeling angry, rejected, frustrated, and directionless. From a descriptive psychiatric point of view, the defendant was at all times in good contact with his environment and free from any psychotic thinking or behavior, I add here. He appeared to be self-centered, but was superficially pleasant and cooperative, free from any major nervousness, in quotes, and lacking any real remorse for his misdeeds. He is of high intelligence, but with long-standing interpersonal difficulties, and lacking any sincere empathy for others. From a dynamic point of view, he grew up as an inadequate, insecure individual with deep feelings of inferiority and rejection. The rejection is what actually, the fear of rejection and this inferiority actually made him quite tense when he had to meet people, because he felt, and as he says also, that part of his killing is due to the fact that he was afraid they were going to abandon him, this fear of rejection, of being abandoned. His intrapersonal conflicts also generated aggressive, hostile tendencies that led to his murderous behavior. His sexual drives functioned as a channel through which destructive power was expressed. Jeffrey Dahmer could best be described as an organized, non-social lust murderer. Now, this was my idea prior to reading a report from the FBI written by, I think it's Robert Hazelwood. I have it here someplace in my briefcase, where they talk about, with somebody else, they talk about the lust murderer. I did use the same words, because this kind of terms actually describe quite well what I found in Jeffrey Dahmer. I did not reach my conclusion from the generalization that the FBI article was stating. Indifferent to the feelings of others and self-centered in his attitude, he perpetrated his crimes in a methodical and shrewd way. His cruel behavior was a source of pleasure and excitement. He was driven in the sense of being motivated by an obsessive fantasy of power over others, and while he basically felt inadequate, insecure, and rejected. As in the last murderer, the defendant's sexual desire was combined with basic aggressive behavior and sadistic manifestations. His aggressivity was channeled secondarily into a homosexual libidinous activity. It could be described as a murderous orgy or satyriasis with a repetitious obsessive-compulsive behavior.
Say murderous orgy? Did I hear that right?
But not to the extent of being uncontrollable. I decided to check at least a major checkup, physical checkup of Mr. Dahmer, and I ordered, with the consent of the court, an electroencephalogram, a CAT scan of the brain, and a chromosomal analysis. All of them were reported negative. The CAT scan was free from any obvious pathology. The EEG didn't show any spikes or abnormalities, and the chromosomal analysis was within normal limits. There were 46 chromosomes, 23 couples, just for a normal male. Because the reason why the chromosomal analysis is this, that some people may have one more chromosome. Instead of having 46, they have 47. And some people have reported that there is the so-called XYY and XXY chromosome type, who at times are involved in criminal behavior. Now, this kind of thing has been discounted by some people. Indeed, there is a study made in Copenhagen and discounts this kind of thing. But there are also many good criminologists and electroencephalographers and neurologists who do believe that criminologists who do believe that the XYY chromosome people may at times, they have only 14, 15 cases, act in a criminal way. The reason why I asked for the electroencephalogram was because at times epileptics during a so-called interseizure period may become aggressive to the point of being destructive. So I had to exclude that. I also had to exclude a brain tumor. And the CAT scan didn't show anything like that or any other pathology. Also, at that particular time, I asked the court for the collaboration of Dr. Friedman, and I asked Dr. Friedman to perform a complete psychological testing, which included a Weiss Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale, revised the Rorschach, which is a projective testing, and also the MMPI, that is the Minnesota Multifaceted Personality Inventory, which can, to some degree, give you some clues as to the traits of the personality of the individual. All this testing is supporting evidence for a clinical diagnosis. You cannot make a diagnosis on that. But this supports, like a blood sugar, a high blood sugar will probably support the impression of your doctor that you have diabetes. At the same time, Dr. Friedman conducted an extensive interviewing because while doing that, and I'm quite sure that he will report to you with the permission of the court. All these tests corroborate the clinical findings of a high IQ and a lack of psychotic thinking. The Minnesota Multifaceted Personality Inventory was administered to Mr. Dahmer once in '86 because in reviewing the records, Mr. Dahmer has been seen by 5 psychologists, PhD, and I had to review all this. And most, I would say, all of them, they report him as non-psychotic. And these are many good people, and their reports are very complete. There is one of the latest reports, even after Dr. Friedman's report, by Dr. Anderson of the correctional services, I think, I don't remember, who examined him just after Dr. Friedman, more or less, and she reports him as non-psychotic. In the Minnesota Multifaceted Personality Inventory was administered to Mr. Dahmer once in '86 and twice in '89 while he was on probation. Subsequent administration of a complete battery of psychological tests took place on 7/28/91, 8/10/91, and these were administered by Dr. Smale. And if we read the report of Dr. Smale, at the end of the report, Dr. Smale states that there is no major mental illness. This is his opinion. The previous report that is a few lines above is a computerized MMPI report, and is not by Dr. Smale. On 11/16/91, 12/9/91, and 1/4/91, he was examined by Dr. Friedman. And Dr. Friedman gave me a briefing about that in writing, which from here I quote. I didn't quote it before, I'm sorry, prior to profile. And he stated that profiles obtained from the 2 recent tests are remarkably similar. The 86 and 89 profiles are those of a personality disorder with some symptomatic features of anxiety and depression. The 91 and 92 tests were taken after a substantial period of incarceration. Although still revealing a distinct personality disorder, there is a more recent worsening of adjustment level and greater intrapsychic discomfort. It is understandable. He is facing a life term, probably, and in jail,
Doctor, you shouldn't be talking with the jury about any possible disposition.
Okay, sorry, I made a mistake. Sorry. Although she revealed at this time, in the clinical interviews, Mr. Dahmer revealed that
was
he's
improper,
subject
sir.
to both taunting and threats from his fellow prisoners. He states that he has become, quote, paranoid, but acknowledges that there is a realistic basis for his concerns. The 3 profiles are strongly associated.
He's very annoyed by this doctor. You can tell he's like, this son of a bitch. That's not at all what I was implying.
With acting out behavior and a negative therapeutic prognosis. This is the statement, brief statement given to me in anteprima, let's say, by Dr. Friedman, because he has his own report. As far as the paranoid, in quote, I was present. Actually, I was the one who questioned Jeffrey Dahmer about this particular thing. And he told me that he was very afraid of people being against him, of being in jail or in prison. He was afraid because he said, especially the black people, might do something. The population of our prisons and jails is 75% black, if I don't make a mistake. After reviewing the criminal complaint from the Milwaukee Police Department, the district attorney's records, including a large group of photographs of the victims, which were taken by Mr. Dahmer and by the medical examiner's office, a complete battery of psychological tests administered and read on 9/28/86 by David C. Osmond, PhD. The interview notes of Evelyn P. Rosen, PhD, who counseled the defendant from March 87 through March 88 for a total of 29 interviews. The psychological report by Charles Lodo, PhD, dated 1/5/89. The psychological report by Norma Goldfarb, PhD, dated 3/10/89. The psychiatric examination report and psychiatric notes of Dr. William Crowley, dated 6/11/91, 6/27/91, and 7/18/91. The DePaul Hospital records of the defendant, covering the period of 5/1/90 to 4/18/91, with an interview by a psychiatrist by the name of Dr. Krebs. By the psychological testing performed during November 91 by Deborah Anderson, PhD. The results of a psychological battery of tests performed by Kenneth H. Smale, PhD.
And actually, I'm going to pop it up one more time for anybody that might not have seen it. There's a lot of new people that's popped through here. This right here, again, sent by Megsy here in the chat through the Discord. Thank you again for that. You'll keep seeing Jeffrey Dahmer actually writing right in front of him, and this is what he was saying. This was the literal response here. One, I never said I was afraid of any fellow prisoners, white or black. I told Palermo that their insults were irritating. Is Palermo going senile, or is he trying to distort my words? 2, 10 of the victims were black, not 11. 3, I never said I got a kick out of it. And 4, my weight during my last year of high school was 210, not 290. So he was being bothered by the things that this psychiatrist was saying right here in real time. Just a little extra context on that. And again, that was for anybody that didn't see it. Again, thanks everyone for hanging out. This video right here only has about another minute and a half left. We're going to go right into the next part of this psychiatrist's testimony, and we're going to keep rolling here on Murder Church. Thank you all for hanging out and being here. Please hit that like. Please share this out to your communities, to your Facebooks, to your Twitters. Let people know what you're watching, where you're hanging out here on Sunday morning. And yeah, if you're not subbed up, if you're lurking in the background, please sub up. Become a part of the party here with Publicly Buzzed. And yeah, we really appreciate it.
PhD, and dated 7/28/91, 8/10/91. The testing done by Samuel Friedman, PhD, on 11/16/91, 12/9/91, and 1/4/92, and my extensive examination of the defendant for a total period of 13 hours, and of his parents and younger brother for an additional period of 5 hours. It is my professional psychiatric opinion, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, that the defendant, Jeffrey Dahmer, can be psychiatrically classified as 1, personality disorder, not otherwise specified, severe, formerly called mixed personality disorder, with antisocial, obsessive-compulsive, sadistic, fetishistic, and borderline features, and the necrophilic features I add now, after I heard so much about it, as stated by the defendant. And 2, alcohol dependence. I have to say here, again, because I didn't include here, that I believe that Mr. Dahmer is suffering from a very serious personality disorder, even though not psychotic. I believe that. And I think that it's too bad that he has not been found, this has not been found out before, and it's too bad that he was never treated, and wherever he goes, I think he should receive treatment. In addition, it is my professional psychiatric opinion, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, that the defendant, Jeffrey Dahmer, was legally sane at the time of the offenses he has been charged with, each and every one. Indeed, he possessed the substantial mental capacity to differentiate right from wrong, refrain from doing wrong, appreciate the nature and quality of his actions, and conform with the requirements of the law. I have nothing more.
At this point, we'll take a recess. After we come back, first the defense, and then the state will both have the opportunity to cross-examine.
Yeah, we're going to go right in.
Election recess.
Goes right into part 2 which is another hour and 9 minutes. We're going to roll right into this. I'm going to do a quick stinger here real quick. Again, thank you all for hanging out and being here. Murder Church rolls on. All right. Yeah, let's keep her moving, baby. Yeah, anybody just rolling through, coming through, thank you all so much. Let's go. We're going to probably be streaming for another, probably until, this will be going to about 12:30. We'll see from there, because I know the next video after this is about another hour and a half. I don't know if we'll be going that far into it. We'll fill it out when we get there. So this may be the last portion, and then we'll have going into next week, continuing with Dr. Palermo. So yeah, thank you all again.
Dr. Palermo.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you a number of questions. You know that I hold you in the highest of respect, correct?
Thank you. Thank you. I have the same opinion of you.
So therefore, none of my questions are going to be directed as an attack on you professionally. You understand that?
Correct. I do understand.
With that said, everything you just said is bullshit and absolutely wrong. No. He's not as bad as McCann. McCann will come in and just tear you right the hell down. He doesn't even start out with, I just want to preference this, that I respect you. He starts out with saying, who the hell are you? Where did you come from? What street corner did they take you off of, you son of a bitch? Huh?
I'm telling you like it is, baby.
Let's go.
And sitting in this courtroom here, you heard the testimony of Dr. Berlin and Dr. Becker, correct?
No, Dr. Becker, I not completely.
Okay.
I was at home, I was sick,
Okay.
you know.
But you did hear Dr. Berlin.
Sure.
Sure. You understand that eventually the jury is going to have to determine these questions.
Correct.
And you're here as the other doctors to help them make that decision, correct?
Correct.
You have been a, well, let me ask you one other question.
Yeah.
It's clear that no matter what question I ask you, you're not going to change your opinion, correct?
It is clear.
Sure. So what I'm going to try and do is to find out some things about what you told us.
Obviously.
Now, as I heard you reading your vitae, I conclude that while you had connection with the United States, was there a period of time you went back to Italy and practiced there for a while?
Correct.
Okay, I see. I missed that. What years were those that you were in Milwaukee and then went back to Italy?
I was in Milwaukee as a practicing psychiatrist from 1960 to 1969, almost 70.
Okay.
And then I moved to Italy, where I was a psychiatrist, a consultant for one of the major hospitals in Rome, international hospitals.
Sure.
Most of my patients were English speaking. I also, you know that I speak several languages besides Spanish, French,
sure.
and German to some extent, not too much. So my patients were mostly English-speaking patients. Because
so how long? Sure, that's fine. How long were you there though? From 70?
I was there for 18 years.
Okay.
18 years.
Right, so you came back in '88.
No, wait a second. No, I came back.
Let me speak.
To the United States of America every year because I attended meetings in the United States of America for CME, continuous medical education. You have to go, otherwise my license, I will lose my license.
Sure, I understand. I don't have any problems with that. I just want to get to chronology. How long would you be back during those years? 2 or 3 months, or?
No. 2 or 3 months I couldn't afford it because I had a practice about 1 month each time.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Now you came back then and stayed since 1988.
Correct.
You've been here again.
Yes.
Bonnie Bailey going to come right through with passing that plate around. Thank you so much, Bonnie. Appreciate it.
Give me the loot. Give me the loot.
I'm a bad, bad man. Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bonnie been here all morning. She was one of the first ones in the church today. Love
you
it.
have an office in this building?
I love it.
Do I?
Yes.
Yes.
Where is it?
It's in the forensic unit.
Where is that located?
It's just next door.
And that is part and parcel of what do you do that you are able to have an office right next door?
Okay. I am hired by the Milwaukee County Mental Health Complex as a senior psychiatrist, and my duties are in the forensic unit of the Milwaukee County Mental Health Complex.
Okay. So you're hired and paid by more.
CR gonna follow that up. Still passing that plate around. $2. Thank you, CR. Thank you. Boom. I'm a bad man. Thank you, CR. Seriously. Leanne gonna follow behind, lurking to donate into the plate. Leanne W. Boom. That's coming all the way from the UK now. That's coming from the future. Appreciate that. Thank you, Leanne. Hope you're having a good day today on this Sunday. Jennifer S. I always thought Dahmer and his dad definitely had a very odd relationship. That interview in jail is very telling. I thought that interview was pretty wild as well. I mean, he never stopped loving his son, and I don't think any dad or parent probably would, even in this type of situation. But yeah, that interview is kind of odd. Yeah, his father in general, his father's had tons of interviews well after the fact, even within the last few years.
Milwaukee County.
I think so.
And you have an office right between these two courtrooms.
Correct.
And you're there every day.
Oh, dirty bastard. Coming through. Austin Reigns, 199. Boom, into the plate. Shit. That's when I thought that we were going back into it, baby. Austin coming through at the 199. Thank you so much. Murder Church, represent.
Day, sometime during the day, part of the day? How does it work?
I'm there every day except when I do my teaching, which I do teach undergraduate, graduate, and postgraduate in Milwaukee, connected with the Medical College of Wisconsin. I'm a professor. 5 hours a week of teaching. When I don't teach...
Oh shit, Lakota gonna come through with the $4.99 super sticker. Boom, and I'm not really sure what that is and what is happening there, but I love it. I'm gonna hit y'all with something a little different here. What are we gonna get? We're gonna get extra bells. What are we gonna get? Extra bells or a little bit of a...
I'm telling you like it is, baby.
One of those and some extra bells. We're gonna also give out some extra bells here on Murder Church Special Day. Thank you all for gathering around. Appreciate it here at Publicly Buzzed Live and Murder Church. Look at the freeze frame I've got here. He's reaching out to hug Boyle. Perfect timing. I knew that these guys loved each other. You guys are the best.
I work there, or I work and teach, whatever.
But your income then, by that I mean 40 hours a week.
Correct.
You're devoting to your job as an employee of Milwaukee County.
Including my teaching.
Sure. As a senior psychiatrist.
Yes.
In the Milwaukee County Mental Health Forensic Unit.
Correct.
Okay. And as a result of that, when you're appointed by the court,
yes,
you do all kinds of different types of things in your capacity with the Mental Health Forensic Unit. For instance, you make determinations on whether people are fit to stand trial.
Yes, I do.
You make decisions on when asked to do so. Whether or not
coming through
someone
here.
was in.
Welcome
let's try and
in,
keep
welcome
these
in.
words so we don't have to repeat the long ones.
Sure.
Sane or insane at the time of the commission of
It
an
does look
offense.
like a lemon giving
What
me a
else?
gift. Okay, I think that is what it is. I think you nailed it. It's a lemon with a body, yeah. Giving up a gift. Lakota coming through again. We'll do it one more time, baby.
Give me the loot. Give me the loot.
You do as this head of this the senior psychiatrist.
I do pre-sentence investigation.
Okay. You write pre-sentences when somebody asks you to do a psychiatric analysis.
Correct, because the pre-sentence investigation can only be done by a psychiatrist, not by a psychologist. So I do those.
Okay. And that's for the courts.
Sure.
What else do you do in that job?
What else? That job requires a lot of my time.
No question, I can see that.
I examine the defendants in the Milwaukee County Jail.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Do you go down also if the sheriff's department
Sure.
finds that one of the inmates there might be having a problem? Do you go down and find out if it's a problem?
I do that too, occasionally. Sure. But I go downstairs to examine these people for psychiatrically and see forensic psychiatrically, because there is a little difference. And then I study the case, I make a report to the court, and there it goes.
Of course. And this office that you have is provided for you. You don't pay for that. You don't pay rent.
No.
No, of course not. I just want everybody to understand.
No, I'm an employee of the Milwaukee County.
Okay. Now, when you're appointed by the court, is that part of your job as an employee of Milwaukee County?
Mr. Boyle, let me tell you. In answer to what you say, and knowing the very there is no discomfort in me, innuendo.
Then I'll withdraw the question.
No. Okay. I want to clarify that. No, this is a part of my way of life.
Okay.
Now, I have at times I'm appointed by lawyers in the Milwaukee County to determine the responsibility of people, never competency, only responsibility, criminal responsibility. And I always do that work during my own time after my office hours.
Of course.
You see?
Of course.
Because I can do it. There is no law that prohibits me to overwork myself.
Believe me, that wasn't the reason I asked the question.
You know.
Dr. Palermo, that was not the reason I asked the question.
Okay, you're fine.
I want to see, when you testify here, having been appointed by Judge Graham, if you are part and parcel of the forensic unit, or are you entirely private?
Entirely private.
That's all I want to know.
Okay, I take time off from the forensic unit just because this is a major trial, and I don't know how much I will be paid. Certainly not $20,000 or $60,000. I don't think so, Your Honor. You won't even pay me.
Dr. Palermo, you are also available to be appointed or asked to do these kind of evaluations on your own time.
Correct.
By the state.
Correct.
And you're also asked to do these kinds of evaluations on your own time by the defense.
Correct.
Now, when is the first time in your career did you start doing this kind of testifying? That is, the forensics testifying on the issue of responsibility. How many years ago was it?
Oh, let me tell you. I'll tell you right away. Because this was a very famous case in the United States of America.
Okay, when was it? And what was the name of the case?
This was when I was a resident in the state of Colorado, in Pueblo, Colorado. I testified in Denver, Colorado for a period of 3 weeks. The trial was a month long. And I was on the stand for 5 or 6 hours. At that time, I was very young. And the case was a multiple murder case. This man who was an Italian immigrant, Arcaina the name was, had killed 5 of his relatives. That was my baptism.
And you were
forensics.
And you were a resident.
I was a resident
in psychiatry.
Yes.
And you made an opinion on that person's responsibility.
Yes, I made an opinion on that person's responsibility.
Sure. So it didn't matter from your perspective as a psychiatrist that a resident psychiatrist or a young psychiatrist or an old psychiatrist comes into court and renders an opinion. That's okay, isn't it?
I would like to say that, and I think I was forced to testify because I was also interpreting, from Italian to English.
But you certainly were experienced. You certainly were experienced enough to do that.
Oh, sure. I had enough experience because I knew the person quite well, because he was in my hospital. And so in order to enlarge about this particular question, I would like to say that I do believe that it is essential for a forensic psychiatrist to be, first, a good medical man, 2, a good psychiatrist, and 3, to be exposed for a long time, or relatively long time, to forensic work.
Okay. Now, since you came back in 1988, have you been doing primarily forensic psychiatry?
I've been doing primarily forensic psychiatry.
And
but at the same time, I've been teaching even psychiatry to geriatric residents, to geriatrics fellow from the Medical College of Wisconsin, and students.
How many times in the course of a year do you testify in the courtrooms of Milwaukee County on the question of a defendant's responsibility at the time of the commission of the offense? How many times?
I would say quite a few times. I don't know. Since I came back, probably I've seen, for instance, in the forensic unit, I have seen up to now about 420 defendants. And in my own private practice, which is only let's say responsibility cases, I must have seen, let me say, because I go by the money I make, let's see. Now, every year, I would say I must have seen 60 people around that, and I would say plus the people from the forensic unit.
Sure.
It's another, I don't know, hundreds probably.
But you don't testify in court on each and every one,
No.
only when it becomes an issue.
Correct.
So I want to know how many times you've been in court in the course of a year testifying on responsibility. 10 cases, 20, 30,
No,
40?
more.
40?
50 cases, at least 50, I would say even more.
In the last year, on those 50 cases, how many times did you appear as a court-appointed expert?
Okay. I have appeared as a court-appointed. The appointment comes usually, many appointments come usually through the court,
Sure,
even though requested by the defense or the DA.
No question.
So, if you, defense is a bad name because I don't think it's a good name, but a terminology. But anyway, I would say that half and half for the defense or for the DA.
But there's also, like in this case, you're here as the court-appointed expert.
Yes.
So what I'm really just trying to do, Doctor, as best you can tell me, in the times that you appeared in the last year on 50 cases, how many times did you appear? I don't even know the answer. How many times as a defense expert? How many times as a state expert? How many times as a court expert?
I always think when they appoint me, I think is always, I don't know, maybe 20 times he has been a court appointed. But I would like to add this, Mr. Boyer. You know me since a long time.
Yes.
I know you too.
Yes.
And no, but I mean, I have, there's nothing, I like you.
Yes.
The question is, you remember that I was testifying in court in Milwaukee for a period of almost 10 years. I was appointed by most of the judges we had at that particular time, from 60 to 70, amongst them Judge Coffey, Judge Steffes, Judge Shaughnessy, Judge, what's the name? Seraphim, okay, bravo. Seraphim, and I was appointed, testified in court many times.
And we knew each other then.
We know each other.
Of course.
That's where we met.
Doctor, but I was a prosecutor then.
Yes, correct. When you were a prosecutor.
Dr. Palermo, I'm asking these questions only out of the deepest of respect.
No, I know that.
Now, I have noticed that in your report, at no time did you use the word paraphilic. I mean, that's true, is it?
Correct.
All right. And at no time in your report did you ever use the word necrophilic.
Correct.
Now, there are some things that you told us that sometimes you didn't believe Mr. Dahmer and the things he told you.
Correct.
Most of the time you believed him.
Yes, most of the time I believed.
You knew if you read the police reports. Did you read the confession before you first?
Yes, I read it. Not before, I read the confession afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So when you walked in there and you started talking to Mr. Dahmer, what you had was the criminal complaint.
Correct.
And you started asking him, as any good investigator would, who's asking questions, as we all are when we ask questions. You started talking to him about count 1, and he said, wait a second, that isn't the first person I murdered.
Correct.
So right at the very beginning, he told you things that you did not know.
Correct.
Okay.
Also because there were not in the amongst the charges against him.
I understand it.
You know.
And you brought that to our attention. You said he stopped me and told me that isn't the first murder.
Correct.
Now, you told him, or strike that, before you and Dr. Friedman talked to him in January, you saw Mr. Dahmer a total of 10 hours. I think you said 3.5, 3.5, and 3.
Sure, I think
okay.
that...
Did you go through each and every murder in detail?
Yes, I did, also with the help of the police complaint. You understand? Because there are some logistics that is unnecessary to question when you already have it in police complaint. Even though I did, and at the same time, I have to say, I was very much interested in Mr. Dahmer's mind.
Of course.
And you know.
But what I'm asking you is this: the thing you're talking about was on the complaint. There were some facts that were attached to it that were his confession.
Sure.
But nowhere. I mean, we all know, including the jury, what you're talking about because it was read to them to them by the court. But that's just a small part of what he told the police, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, he told the police 169-page confession. Correct. Yeah. Now, that discussion that you had with Mr. Dahmer was enlightening to you as you were talking to him to find out what kind of a person he was, what he did, how he did it, why he did it, what was he thinking. That's what you were interested in.
Correct.
And then after you did that, you would continue to ask him questions as you thought they were important for you to be able to do your job.
Pertinent questions, yes.
I mean, you weren't like a police detective wanting to know each and every thing about everything he did.
Let's say I wanted to know as much as I could, because you have to understand that Mr. Dahmer did not tell me things that he might have told other people, indeed.
But after you left that first interview and talking about the facts, how long did it take you to talk to him about the facts that you subsequently read in the confession? Was that a couple of hours conversation?
But I would say maybe more.
Sure.
Yeah,
Took you a lot of time.
Sure.
And have you had read the confession, some of the things that you would have asked him would have been to, did you do this, did you do that, did you do that, right?
Yeah.
But because you hadn't read the confession, you had to ask.
If anyone's having problems with chat, I think it crashed again. Just a warning. If anyone is having problems with chat, I think that it's crashed again. I can't even send anything out, and they're coming through weird. So, YouTube, baby! Welcome, everybody. Thank you all again for hanging out. Appreciate it. Hit you with one of these just because.
Thing, right?
Logic.
Sure, of course. Now, it was clear from talking to Mr. Dahmer that a pattern of behavior started showing up.
Welcome, Bella. Thank you for being here.
After he started these killings, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. In other words, he would go out to a gay bar. He would wait until it was closing up.
Sure.
talk somebody into coming back,
Sure.
and then, of course, a murder would take place. I mean, a pattern started showing up on how he was doing this, correct?
Not every time.
Now, some
Not every
people were off
time.
the streets,
Yeah.
some he met on the books.
Sure.
But a pattern of going out and finding somebody to bring back to his apartment to destroy, right?
No, to destroy, I don't know if
Bad word.
was that way.
Bad word.
To be together with,
Sure.
primarily. I don't think that he went out with the idea, I'm going to kill this person. He went out with the idea of finding a partner, a sexual partner, and let me say this, to whom he promised some money, which most of the times he did not have, and of whom he was quite afraid once they would request from him not only some type of sexual behavior, but also his money.
Okay, but what you were interested in and was getting an overall picture with as much detail as you thought was necessary in
Correct.
order for you to do your job.
Logical. That's the way we go about
I
it.
mean, if he started talking to you and kept on recounting every single day he was in the Army and how many parades he was in and what his boss in the Army was like, you said, well, that's okay, it's not important. Let me just go on to something else. You decided how the conversation was to go in order for you to be assured that you had a basis for making your opinion.
Correct. Most of the times I decided because I used a direct questioning. Okay, but at times the questions were open-end questions, so he was free to tell me. Indeed, he was many times he was very free to tell me whatever he wanted.
Of course.
And I have it here in my report.
And I know that, and we're not gonna, you're never gonna have to refer to those, I promise you. What I want to know is that you spent 3 hours with him, and then you came back. The second time you came back, did you have to go back into the facts again, or did you pretty much know what the facts were?
No, I repeated the facts again at times to clarify myself, because let me tell you, when you hear that someone kills 17 people and so on, the first thing you think as a lay person, and we are lay people anyway, even though we're professional, what do we hear? The expression, he must be crazy.
Of course.
Okay?
Of course.
Meaning by that, he should not, what has he done? Okay? So this is the normal, like common expression many people might have. And I suppose I went there thinking that there was some big psychiatric illness, you never know, and I was shocked when I met him after 4 hours as Dr. Berlin, and I give him credit now. I knew after 4 hours that he was not psychotic.
Good.
Okay?
So a man, let's just put this in its proper perspective. Within 4 hours of meeting with Jeffrey Dahmer, you knew he was not crazy or psychotic or insane.
Correct.
Oh, that's fine.
But I was not satisfied.
I understand that.
I went back.
Good.
You know, to have the certainty that I was perceiving Mr. Dahmer correctly. And I went over and over again, another 2 times, and then eventually I said, I got to give him the benefit of doubt. And I called Dr. Friedman. And I said, since Dr. Friedman has always, I don't say always, I'm sorry, but most often testify for the defense, I said, why don't you go and see him?
Wonderful. Nobody could ask for anything more than that. Now my question is, in those 4 hours, was all of his conversation with you, did that include his conversations with you, you going back and reading, and then going back and talking to him and say, now I believe, I have my opinion, but in order to do the best possible job, I'm going to continue to look and look and look, so that when I come into court, my conscience is clear that I know what I'm talking about.
Correct.
Okay.
But my first 4 hours, I gathered an impression, not a diagnosis yet, you understand? My impression was, after 4 hours, that he was not psychotic, and most probably he was legally sane.
And you were learning the facts during those first 4 hours.
Yes, yes.
Now, you heard, and you hadn't read the confession in that first 4 hours, had you?
No, the confession, no. I had the confession later on.
So on the basis of what he was telling you without reading the confession, you had made a tentative belief, a tentative conclusion that he was not mentally ill.
Correct.
Okay, fair enough. Now, as you were reading through your report,
Yeah.
I was jotting down just a few notes. And I want to go to the first paragraph on page 2, the last sentence. The examiner felt that the defendant was almost relieved to unburden his conscience of many painful memories.
Yes.
Did you believe that Jeffrey Dahmer, as you were talking to him at that time, was a man who had a conscience, as you used the word there?
Okay. That was my impression. Okay. That was my impression. I felt that he was cooperative, that he was attentive, that he was responding in a relevant manner, that he made some remarks about what he did, that he was sorry for that. I felt at that time that he was, he felt good to get this out.
By the way, when you're talking to a man like Mr. Dahmer, what do you call him as you're sitting across the examining table? What do you call him?
Mr. Dahmer is a young man.
What do you call him?
I call him Jeffrey.
Okay.
But not in public.
It's all right. Whether you do it in public or not, you call him Jeffrey.
Yeah, I call him Jeffrey many times. He's a likable fellow. Whatever he has done, he's still a human being.
And when you say that it would not...
Wow. I mean, as a doctor and a psychiatrist, you have to sit in a room with these individuals and look at them a little bit differently, right? That's an interesting outtake, because, I mean, us, you instantly, your blood starts boiling. You're like, fuck this guy.
That'd be your way of testifying. When I said to you, what did you ask him then? You wouldn't say, I said, Jeffrey, where did you go? Because you don't think you would report it that way.
I would not report that way, because it would, if I would report that way, it would show that after reassessing the interviews with them, it would show that I would be a little bit involved with them. Let me tell you, if I would report here to the court, Jeffrey told me, I think it's poor taste.
But the fact of the matter is, you found that Jeffrey, as you talked to him in private and called him Jeffrey, was not insane, that he was sane in all these murders.
Correct.
So you did not personalize yourself with him after you rendered your opinion, and you testified today. You call him the defendant.
Sure.
That's how normal people do it, right, Mandy? Jeffrey Dahmer I just want somebody to stay here. I just want them to stay, so I'm going to have to kill him. Well, normal people just, have kids, and then they're like, I've got you.
Call him Mr. Dahmer.
Correct.
But not when you were talking to him. You called him Jeffrey, of course.
Obviously not.
Of course. Now, I want to talk to you about the word conscience. We all know what the word conscience is.
I don't know if we know, but anyway.
All right. You don't think I know what a conscience is?
No, you, but you said we all know.
Well,
I don't know if we all know.
Bull's about to start fighting. You don't think I have a conscience? What the hell? Oh, sorry. No, excuse me.
Let's
Lost in
hope that we're all
translation.
born with consciences anyway.
Actually, we develop a conscience.
Tell me what the word definition. Tell me the definition of the word conscience.
Conscience is actually there is conscience as awareness, general awareness of what is going around, and there is a moral conscience, which is a different thing. And the so-called moral conscience one develops later on in life. It's by the age of 8, 9, 10. Some people say 13. Because you develop a moral, social conscience. So that's what happened.
When a person is claimed to be amoral,
yeah,
is that a legitimate word?
A means without.
So there are people without conscience.
Yes.
And how do you decide whether a person has a conscience, knows what's right from wrong, but doesn't care? Wouldn't that be amoral? What would amoral be?
Amoral means that he is without any morals. In other words, he does not hold or uphold the morals that society in general upholds.
When Jeffrey Dahmer told you that he wanted to unburden his conscience, you believed he did have a conscience.
I believe that, let's say, I believe that conscience may be a part of the self, obviously the individual, that certainly he does have some kind of conscience. He's not completely without conscience. Indeed, he didn't kill everybody. He killed specific people.
When he killed these 15 people, when he went out and found them out in the place where he found
Wake
them
up, Judge!
to bring them back to his apartment, and then got into his killing mode, and ended up killing them, and devouring them and ripping them apart and doing sexual things to their very bodies, he was a person with a conscience at that moment? He had a conscience.
No, he didn't have any conscience in that moment. He didn't have the moral conscience, even though he was aware of what he was doing. The moral conscience is something. Morally speaking, we are told since early in life that it is not right to kill. Okay? Now, that is a part of our moral conscience. It has nothing to do with being aware or not of what we do, if we do kill or steal.
Okay.
That's a different thing.
If we do kill, still.
Doctor, the only reason I asked you is when he wanted to unburden his conscience, as you wrote in your report, you mean as he was sitting there talking to you, he wanted to unburden his conscience, that he finally, well, I shouldn't say that, that he wanted to let you know that he was sorry for what he did.
Correct. That's the word. Conscience means exactly that.
But when he was doing it, you're not saying that his conscience was intact and he was deliberately doing something against his conscience, being aware of what he was doing at that moment was against the moral law, are you?
What he was doing at that moment?
Yes.
Was against the moral law?
Yes.
He knew that it was wrong. Yes, it was. He knew that.
But was it a matter that he was concentrating on? Was he making a choice at that time that I'm going to do this in spite of the fact I know it's wrong? Was he making a choice?
Yes.
At the moment of the killing?
Yes, he was at the moment of the killing, the preparation of the killing, and afterwards. Okay. He was making a choice at that particular time.
I want you to go on to page 3, please. You quote Jeffrey as saying in the fourth line from the top, quote, they pulled down to the level of being nerdish, quit quote. That's what his brother told you.
That's the brother told me.
So his brother told him that suddenly Jeffrey became a nerd.
Yeah.
And what did you understand that to mean? Just some simpleton, or what do you understand by the word nerd?
It means that he became involved in some kind of relationship. You know, the nerd can be, let's say, squeezed any way you want it.
Now you say that David also said his brother Jeffrey was involved in streaking. What's streaking? Running around naked, you mean?
Yeah, but many kids did at that time. You know, I didn't consider that unusual. I reported because his brother told me.
Did he tell you where he was streaking? On downtown, in the school, around the house?
No, he didn't tell me. It was maybe around where they lived, but they lived in the country, so it doesn't make any difference. You know, I didn't make too much out of that.
The next paragraph, and you've underlined, I was envious of other boys. At times I felt so angry that I would have thoughts of killing them. And you underlined that. That's what Jeffrey Dahmer told you.
Yeah, exactly.
And you said that is, I thought you said that that's not out of the ordinary.
But, no, you know, we are into semantics, Mr. Boyle. Let me tell you, these kind of expressions are used by many children in order to express their resentment and hostility or whatever else. This doesn't mean the actual killing. A child who says this doesn't mean the actual killing. He says, I wish I would kill you, meaning by that, I wish you were not there.
Of course. But you underline that when he was 14, that he indicated he was other boys. You've envious of other boys. You underline that.
Yes, I underline.
And when you said that the part that you underlined about killing them, you weren't really meaning that he was having thoughts of killing.
I don't believe so.
No, of course not.
I don't believe so.
That's what I wanted to
But
know.
I underline because of the logical sequence of his development. Even though I think, and I want to think that he didn't have in mind to actually kill the person. There was the beginning of some, let's say, strangeness.
Strange.
Strangeness.
Did you ever find out that he really rose to the weight of 290 pounds?
That's what he told me.
Did you believe him?
Yes, because when you smoke marijuana, this is one of the side effects.
You also quote him as saying that, and I'm almost sure that when you were reading this, and I think you skipped this line, I know it wasn't done purposely. I put brackets around it. He told you, after he was telling you about his being frustrated with his father's strict demands and his mother's unpredictable and argumentative behavior with his father and with him, that he felt helpless in his desire to change his life. I don't recall that you read that.
Yeah,
I put
he felt helpless. Yeah, that's true.
What did he mean by that?
He meant that he didn't know how to stop. Wait a sec, I remember. He didn't know how to please his father. You see, because his father wanted him to go to college, like many fathers want. And instead, he went to college, he couldn't study. Of course, he was drinking excessively. And he would have changed his life if he could have done it. That's what he wanted.
What significance? See, I always look at people's reports and say if they wrote them down, it must have been important. So that's why I'm asking you this.
Logic.
What significance was there to your putting down, actually, you were trying to find out if he was jealous of one of his siblings, which is an important thing to know, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Why did you put down the significance of actually the defendant chose his brother's name according to his mother in my telephone interview with her? What significance?
The significance is the following. You see, Jeffrey Dahmer was involved in killing of young people. My thought at that particular time was maybe that he resented his brother when his brother was born, like many children do, and he grew up with a certain resentment towards his brother, and maybe this might have played into his feelings towards young people, because the feelings towards young people grew up rather ambivalent. Mm-hmm. He liked them. At the same time, he ended up in killing them.
Okay.
So that's what the reason why I mentioned that. The mother said that he liked the brother, and he himself told me he liked his brother.
Fine.
And his brother likes him.
I just want to know why you put it
Yeah,
down.
sure.
Thanks. Now, he said to you that he didn't have, on page 4, Doctor.
That's 4, yeah.
He disclaimed any romantic or non-romantic homosexual relations while in Germany.
In Germany.
Stating that he would have been afraid of having them there. And I believe you said that's hard to believe.
Correct.
Well, did you believe that during the time that he was in the army in Germany that he was having homosexual or heterosexual liaisons?
Yeah, I've said it again and again, Tegland Crochet. I'm glad that we've went down this. This is the first ever church or trial we've done on Murder Church ever since I've started this on Sunday mornings, and I'm glad we went down this one first because it's been so interesting and so different than any other trial that I've ever seen before. So, yeah, thank you for being here. First of all,
I don't know yes or no, but I would say that homosexuality is usually helped by the environment. Also, you know, if you are in an environment where 100% of the people are heterosexual, let's say, don't like homosexuals, so there is no chance for him to engage in homosexual activities. But I do know, everybody knows, everybody who goes to Germany knows that Germany has been a free country, and there are bordellos where you can go and find homosexuals and so on. So you don't need to be, you know, to be a German to know that. Actually, the tourists know that.
I was stationed in Germany.
Okay, so you must know that.
May I put on the record what I know?
But listen, in
I'll
Germany...
talk to you about all that in private.
No.
What the hell are they talking about? Are they talking about going to bathhouses in Germany right now? The judge is getting to intervene. He's just like, all right. Well, excuse me. I know about Germany as well. And I've been around town, baby. What the hell's happening right now?
The answer to that. Sworn as a witness.
The idea...
Everyone is trying to talk right now. The judge is having a conniption. He's freaking out. Look at his back. Oh my God. What is happening? This lady wants to go to the house. Jeffrey Dahmer's sitting there like, this is real life. This is planet Earth. This is where we live every single day.
The idea is that in Germany, in many...
Look at him. He can't even contain himself. Oh my God. He's freaking out.
Cities, big cities in Germany, prostitution...
That woke him up. That's the most energy we've seen this judge have the whole time.
In specific quarters of the cities.
You were in different cities than me then.
Yeah, I know, but I went to the right ones.
Doctor, what I want to know is why, when you're talking to someone,
Dahmer is not
whether they be
amused.
a Jeffrey Dahmer or Jerry Boyle or Judge Graham, you have to make a decision whether or not you're believing what they're telling you to be.
Order in the damn court, including the judge.
Correct?
This is the duty of a forensic psychiatrist, to find out whether there is malingering.
But
present.
here is a man who came to you, and when you very first met him, you said to him, I want to talk to you about this first murder. And he said, no, that's not my first murder. My first murder is, as the ambassador was telling you, didn't even know about it.
Judge's jaw came completely unhinged for a minute. He turned into a literal boa constrictor. Well, not a literal. He would literally be a boa constrictor.
Correct.
Now he says to you, when I was in Germany in the Army, I didn't have any homosexual experiences, and you say I find that hard to believe. Why do you distinguish? Here's a man that admits a murder to you didn't even know about, even though he had admitted
That's
to others,
awesome,
but you
Jessica.
didn't know about it. And he volunteers that, but when he says, but when I was in the Army, I didn't have...
Let him know.
I'm telling you like it is, baby.
Any homosexual relation. How do you decide what to believe and not to believe when they tell you things?
Okay, because first of all, the first answer he gave me, actually, the spontaneous statement he gave me was spontaneous, was not after one of my questions. You know, I didn't say to him, did you do anything else? He spontaneously told me, and that may be self-serving at times. So, nevertheless, I believed it because he had data, he had facts. You know, the second one instead, you know, I was asking him about any homosexual activities in Germany, and he told me no.
But you didn't believe?
I again say it's very
hard to believe.
Hard to believe. Yes.
Okay.
He might have been that way, but it's hard to believe.
The next paragraph, he says to you, quote, I had been drinking heavily. That is, quit quote. That's when he decided to come from Milwaukee to leave his father in Ohio and live with his grandmother. Did you believe that?
But he has been...
Look at this hair. This is the hair that everyone has been talking about. Jeffrey Dahmer's father's toupee. You can see the line right there. Clearly, unnaturally connecting to the real hair just underneath. Eyes closed. He might be passing out as well. This is probably traumatic. But he went full swoop with it. You know, people that really do the cover-up, that can pull off the cover-up, they have, and I've seen the cover-up in real life from people. I may even have to do the cover-up one day, but you have long hair in the back. Like this bowl of hair, the back mulleted out, okay? You take that, and then you pull it around, okay, to make the front cover, to make the helmet, if you will. That is, that's what he's going for now. In this very image here, he's trying to construct that look. But I think that he's, instead of growing it out and going for it naturally, he's instead went the route of buying a toupee. Just thought I'd break that down for you guys real quick. More tips on toupees next week on Murder Church. Baby.
I believe that because he has been arrested and jailed overnight in Milwaukee, in West Allis twice, and once in Milwaukee.
Fair point, Jessica. He went in there and made sure that it matched perfectly. I have to have, look at these locks, look at this hair. I need a toupee that is going to match it color for color. I don't need any off colors. I need this to be the perfect shade of brown that I'm rocking right here. Can you help me?
By his own assertion.
Yes or no? I'm not going to waste my damn time.
You see, in my reporting, whatever I reported, if I don't find any supportive evidence to what he says, I have the let's say the duty to question that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. When he told you that between the time of the first killing and the time of the second killing, after he came back from Ohio to live in West Allis, and he was trying to change his life, he was going to church with his grandmother, he stopped his masturbation or tried to reduce it, and it was going on for one day a week, that he was going to church, he was trying to control his drinking. Did you believe him?
I believed him.
Okay. Now,
Made sense that he probably wanted to change his life.
Okay. Was that time, during that time, those 3 years, when he was living with his grandmother and before his next homosexual act, did you believe him when he said he wasn't engaged in homosexual acts?
Yes, I
Hard to get away from that hard line, Austin.
Okay. Now, did you believe the story that he told you about when he was sitting in the library and this fella came by and threw something on his lap? Did you believe?
I believe him. That's possible. It's not unusual.
Did you believe him when he told you that it was after that things started getting a little out of hand again and he started going to the gay bars and the videos and buying pornography? Did you believe that?
Yes and no. I don't know if it's actually so sequential. I don't know. But I suppose that could happen.
Did you believe that he went and drugged the number of people he told you at these bathhouses in order to have sex with them?
Yes, but I don't think probably that he drugged as much as he wanted me to believe.
Why? How are you, in talking to him, able to determine whether you believe he did that drugging once, twice, 3, 10 times? How are you able to know?
No, that he drugged many times, I'm quite sure he's right.
Okay.
Many times. But the amount of narcotization or drugging that he performed on those people, I don't think is as much as he wanted me to believe. Because, in other words,
I'm confused.
I don't know how many pills actually put in there. I don't know that. I cannot, he may say 10, and maybe it's much less.
Well, but it's only the amount of pills, not the number of people he did it to.
Number of people, he might have done even more than he told me.
Sure. And he might have done, but did he do any less?
Done less.
Did you believe him when he said that he got kicked out of going back out of the bathhouse because they caught him doing that?
Apparently, I believed him, and at the same time, I have corroborating evidence because he is in the police confession.
Well, but, you know, the policemen are like you. They're being told things by him. That's corroborated evidence, but he's the only person corroborating that, right?
I think that that's what's happening here, too.
He tells the police one thing, and then you talk to him and he tells you the same thing, and you say, well, I believe him because that's corroborated because that's what he told the police.
But then we have to assume that Mr. Dahmer is a manipulator of people.
I understand that. But you're not suggesting...
He is a manipulator of people.
Up until this point, where he is telling you the story, that he is lying to you about the things he's telling you?
No, I suppose he's trying to tell me the truth,
okay.
But at the same time I think that his truth is somewhat embellished or made more ugly than it was. You know, he may have, you know.
The judge is still, he's reminiscing live right now about that moment. He's like, yes, Germany. Oh, the whorehouses in Germany. Love it. Oh, yes.
He may have also, in other words, let me say this. I ask myself a question, if you allow me. Can we believe that Mr. Dahmer, Jeffrey Dahmer, all of a sudden becomes a truthful person, 100%, when we have ample evidence in court, when he lied to the doctors, he lied to other people? Can we believe that all of a sudden he's 100% truthful? I doubt about it.
Is anybody suggesting that what you just said is not true? Obviously, he was a liar.
I think so.
He was a mass murderer. He killed 15,
Not right off.
17 human beings.
But there have been mass murders worse than Mr. Dahmer anyway.
Question that I have to ask you is, did he ever lie to you about some things that really would have caused you to say, this man's a liar? He told me, he said the devil made me do it. He never said anything like that, did he?
Okay.
Did he?
No, as long as you go into that, I'll tell you. He told me spontaneously, just, I think it was the third interview, and I was going away. He says, excuse me, I didn't tell you about this. I want to tell you something. I said, yeah, Jeffrey. I sat down, I listened to him, and he told me the story of wanting to build the temple.
Good.
Okay? Now, that is something that he had in mind to do in the future. Okay? He never did build the temple. I have reason to believe that is not true, possibly.
Okay. Well, I understand that, but I want to ask you about this. Until that interview,
Yeah.
with all of the time that he had to sit there and think about what he was going to say to you, when you came and you would come back again and again, did he ever tell you that he was hearing voices?
No, he never told me.
Sure. He never told you he was seeing things coming off the TV screen?
Not at all.
He never told you the devil made him do it?
No, he mentioned that he felt devilish.
He never,
himself.
Doctor, don't we all, we know what hallucinations are. That's where you are seeing things that aren't there.
That's true, yeah. I think that was in the Discord from one of the earlier weeks. He did, I mean, hell, drawing it's creating the temple, right?
I can come to you and make that.
Just say he wasn't fucking making the temple, and what is even building the temple in his own eyes, with these bodies, with these souls, with these people, in his fucking apartment.
True.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Dahmer ever make up an hallucination?
Oh, he could.
I said, did he?
No, he did not.
Did he ever make up a delusion?
No, not at all.
So what he made up was, up to the time that he's telling you about the first murder at the Ambassador Hotel, what is it other than his disclaimer of having homosexuality liaisons in Germany did you feel he wasn't telling you the truth about? What else wasn't he telling you the truth about?
What else he didn't tell me the truth?
Up until the time, he sits there and he says, Doctor, the first person I killed was at the Ambassador Hotel.
Yeah.
Then you took you went into his background, his birth, and his Middle Ages, and his going into the Army. You asked him about what he was doing. Up until that murder, what is it that you didn't believe he was telling you?
Now, let me say this. Obviously, nothing.
So you believed him?
Nothing. He gave me a straight, as far as possible, complete history. No.
Did you believe him when he told you about the first murder at the Ambassador in '87, how it happened, how it came about, how he got the body out of there, how he took it to his grandmother's house, how he disposed of it?
I took his words. I have no idea how to verify that. There's
corroboration. He told the detectives.
He told the detectives, yeah, but they didn't find a body.
He was consistent.
They didn't find a body, and he was not charged for that either.
Well, but he wasn't charged because they didn't find the body. Maybe, maybe not. Let's go to the next murder. Did you believe what he told you about the next murder? You did.
Yeah. No,
Did they find that body?
I don't know if they found the body. I don't know.
You know that some of these murders, probably 4 of them,
Yeah.
they wouldn't have been able to have a body. You know that.
Yeah.
So he was volunteering information to the police about criminal conduct that he was engaged in that the police didn't know about. True?
Correct.
As it relates to each and every murder, just a murder. See, I don't want to dwell on how bad they were, just the fact of them.
Sure.
Do you believe he was telling the truth about how he went out and did got his prey and how he brought him back and how the sex took place? What he was telling you and what he did afterwards, did you believe all those things that he was telling you?
I believe most of it, except several things, like I mentioned before.
The drilling.
Yeah, the drilling.
Okay.
The eating. I don't know if he ate actually, because we found they found some flesh in the refrigerator.
He doesn't believe that Jeffrey Dahmer ate these people? Why is that so hard to believe?
That does not mean that he was going to eat it.
Well, didn't they find some in the freezer also, Doctor?
In the freezer, yes, but that you know, you have to.
He wants literal proof that they found reason to believe that he was a cannibal, that he was eating human flesh. I mean, he's so open about all this. Is he just going to randomly be like, well, I also was eating them and not eating them? I think that he is fucking eating these people.
Realize that he had cluttered his place so much that he had to buy a refrigerator and a freezer in order to avoid the stench.
So you believe that he made up the cannibalism?
I have my doubts about the cannibalism. Yes, I do have my doubts.
But you have your doubts, but you're not saying absolutely it didn't take place.
I cannot be certain, absolutely no.
Let's talk about when he told the police the parts of the bodies he returned. You know he was telling the truth about that because they were found.
Correct.
And the parts of the body that he kept, that he had over in his place of work while he was doing his time in the House of Corrections so he could go into his locker and look at that product of his murder. Did you believe that he had that at his place of work? I just want to know if you believed it, that's all.
Yeah, I believe that.
Okay. So basically what you're telling us of the things that he told you relative to the murders, you didn't believe this story about trying to create zombies.
Trying to do what?
Create zombies?
He created zombies with the potion and the pills, no doubt. I doubt about the drilling, whether it happened before or after the demise of the people.
So your question is not that he...
Like, he's a horrific individual that was doing these horrible things. He's willing to drug you while you're still conscious to do these bad things. While you're in that state, how's it so hard to believe that he would also drill a hole in your head and pour acid in there? Thinking zombie or not, just the actual event. Why is it so hard to believe that? And then the eating and being an actual cannibal. Why is that so hard to believe? Like, I don't understand.
He did the drilling. The question is whether he did it before or after death.
Correct.
All right, now how many of these...
yeah, I think you're right, man. He normalized Dahmer in his mind so much he doesn't believe the other parts. Yeah.
Remnants of these bodies.
Yeah, maybe it's so horrific he can't fathom it. He can't, but I mean...
Was the drilling done on? There was 11 skulls found.
Yeah, I think with my...
He had no problem crushing bones with hammers and putting it down the drains. Like, come on.
When I went to see the medical examiner, I think he reports only 4.
That's right.
And in the first one, he did 4 drillings. In the second one, 3. And the third one, 2. And the last one, only 1. And that was a skull with the scalp on.
Did it come to your into your mind when you're trying to assess whether somebody's telling you the truth is, why was he drilling only 4 of the 11 as opposed to not drilling all 11? Did you ask him that at all about that?
I think that what he was doing, he wanted to keep them. They were special ones, I think.
Now,
And
did you, just so I'm right on the chronology of this, did you ever ask him about whether the zombie business, in any of the conversations that you were with him, did you talk to him about that?
sure, I
okay.
did. Extensively.
all right,
I
that's what I
talked
wanna
about. Oh, sure.
So did you ask him, did you then go back and down to the medical examiner's office and look at these skulls and then come back and talk to him again?
No, I did not.
Oh, I see.
I didn't have that. That was done after my report.
Oh, I understand. All right.
After my report.
You never went back and confronted him by saying, Jeffrey, I don't believe that you really were doing this and trying to create zombies because this is what these skulls show, and I think you're lying to me. You didn't do that, did you?
I didn't do it, no.
Fine. Now, when you say that he is not psychotic, that's exactly what Dr. Berlin said, correct? He said he wasn't psychotic either,
Yeah,
right?
that's what he said.
And you weren't present to hear Dr. Becker's testimony, but she made the same finding that he wasn't psychotic, right?
Yes.
Now, within your profession, so that we all know, doctors, good doctors, great doctors, the best doctors may very well disagree with each other on the same set of facts. Of course.
Yeah, I think there may be some disagreement, but basically, if they agree that he was not psychotic, we all agree that he's not psychotic. So there is a common denominator.
But they say, as their primary diagnosis, that he was suffering from a paraphilia known as necrophilia, which is under paraphilia not otherwise specified.
Correct.
And they examined basically the same facts as you, and you arrive at a conclusion that he is suffering from a personality disorder not otherwise specified, with antisocial, obsessive-compulsive, fetishistic, and borderline features. That's what you...
Damn, Boyle out here about to bust a fucking rap out. Damn, son. Damn, ball. Yeah, thanks, guys. We have about 12 minutes left of this before we're going to probably wrap up Murder Church this week. Again, thanks everyone for hanging out. Yeah, can't thank y'all enough. Been a damn good show. Really good, honestly. Please hit the like if you haven't already. We'll save that one more time for when you get ready to actually head out the door. If you're enjoying this and you haven't subbed up, please sub up. Really helps us out here at Publicly Buzzed, and share this out. I say this a lot, but it really does help when randomly new people come in and they don't hear this. It triggers something. But yeah, share this out to your communities and let people know what you're watching here Sunday mornings on Murder Church, folks. Yeah, keep rolling on here with old Dr. Palermo and Boyle's back and forth. I think they love each other.
I'm telling you like it is, baby.
You said.
Yeah.
Okay. Did Jeffrey Dahmer suffer from the paraphilia known as necrophilia?
Before I answer, I want to say this, that today, in my testimony, I added that he has also necrophilic features as stated by the defendant himself. I said that.
I heard you say that.
Okay.
But it wasn't in your written report.
No, it wasn't in my written report.
And you're free to add whatever you want to add, and
Okay,
I'm not
that's what
questioning that.
yeah,
I want to ask you the question. Was Jeffrey Dahmer suffering from the paraphilia known as necrophilia during the period of time that he was involved in these 15 homicides?
No.
Okay. Now, I would like to set the stage to ask some questions, and then maybe before I get into them, the specific questions we should break, but I think I'd like to set the stage. Is that all right? We have...
How much longer do you anticipate being on your cross-examination?
Probably another hour.
Another
45 minutes to an hour. 45 minutes.
Go ahead.
Depends on how quickly we go. I'm getting towards the end, but we're not in a hurry, I trust you. Doctor, the DSM-3R book.
Correct.
This is for people trained in psychiatry, doctors of medicine, psychologists, right? That's what it's done for.
May I say?
Sure.
The DSM-3R revised is a guide to diagnostics.
Sure. But I'm not a person trained in those disciplines, and therefore, if I wanted to find out what was wrong with my son, and I started going through here, it might not be too good an idea for me to start making a diagnosis. Those should be done by doctors.
Correct.
And in spite of that, this is broken down into sections. And the sections deal with schizophrenia, mood disorders, sexual disorders, personality disorders, lots of things, correct?
Sure.
What the psychiatric people did in assembling this book is to group things into certain categories to help the doctors doing their job.
To
define.
Obviously comes to.
Jennifer S. coming through here on her first murder church, I think, unless she's been lurking, sending some hugs with $1.99 into the bucket. Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate that.
Give me the loot. Give me the loot.
Seriously, love that. And I hope that you come back. I hope you've had a good time. I love how, this community just welcomes folks in. And yeah, Jennifer, thank you so much.
To help the doctors to communicate and understand one another when they talk about a certain entity, and to codify these particular illnesses.
We talk about sexual disorders.
Sure.
They're in one section. Within that are the paraphilias. Within that is the necrophilias.
Correct.
Nice. Second coming through here. That must mean you liking it then.
Talk about personality disorders. We are talking about the finding that you made. It has got the number 301.90, and it is called a personality disorder not otherwise specified.
Correct.
So if I go to the book and I go to that, tell me if I'm right or wrong, that is the absolute last noted personality disorder of 10 different kinds of psychiatric personality disorders. But is that right? Is that,
I think 10 is too many. There are some.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't want you to have to
Pull it
list all
up for Holly, baby. We'll do it anyways. Holly, one morning. We're going to get you in here.
But there's a number of different.
Oh, shit. Yeah, G-Mama B coming through with the $4.99 super sticker. Boom with the good job. Thank you very much. Boom.
Give me the loot. Give me the loot.
Loving it. Thank you. Thank you. Again, going to throw that right into the collection plate there. Murder Church. Boom.
Kind of personality disorders.
Sure.
And the last one is the personality disorder not otherwise specified.
Correct.
Now, is it safe to say that the not otherwise specified is kind of a catch-all where you can't put it into a specific personality disorder? You say it's a personality disorder, so you're going to group it in the not otherwise specified, and that's exactly what it means. There's not a specific personality disorder for what you've seen.
Indeed. So it is a personality disorder not otherwise specified because the individual suffers, the individual's manifestation are multiple, not one. No one of these manifestations is the one. Otherwise, it would have gone into the other type specific personality disorder.
What happens in the other personality disorders, if you're talking about a dependent personality disorder,
sure,
a compulsive obsessive personality disorder, what they do to assist the doctor is to list a number of things and say, you know, if you find 3 or 4 of these 10, the person you're talking about or looking for is in this category.
Yes, correct.
Is that true?
Yeah, 3, 4, 5, depends, but...
They tell you how many you should find before you do it.
Yeah, I know, but as a psychiatrist, you follow your judgment. You don't follow just that Bible. By the way, you know that there is in July, there is another one of this coming out. It's called DSM-3-4 revised.
Probably, as we grow in the science, there will probably be more.
Sure, they are going to make another one.
Okay. One of the things that you said that you found is
his point is actually pretty good. I think there that things change, right? You can't always just abide by, well, as he said, the Bible and the text in these different fields. That actually does make sense because hell, today compared, 30 years since this happened, I'm sure it's changed multiple times since then. That's a really good point, actually.
this personality disorder in Jeffrey Dahmer was that he had sadistic character traits.
Yeah.
Now, sexual sadism is a paraphilia, is it not?
Sexual sadism is a sexual deviation, alias nowadays paraphilia.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
And if I were to go to the paraphilias and say to you, Doctor, is Jeffrey Dahmer a paraphilic sexual sadist, what would your answer be?
What I would answer? I wouldn't follow the book the way you do, because it looks like this is a lottery. Does he have 2 or 3 of these features, or does he have one? That's not the way to describe a disease.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you, is he a sexual sadist?
I believe so. I believe that he classifies as a...
I'll give you that. I'll give you it. Necrophilia, cannibal, I don't, sexual sadist, okay, you can have that one. Come on, man.
Sexual sadist on the basis of is inferring damage, destruction to other people and enjoying it, because obviously Mr. Dahmer must have gotten some kind of pleasure, he told me, out of doing that. A sadist is somebody who inflicts pain on somebody else.
Doctor, in the book, I don't know anything about your business. I just look at the book. Sexual sadism is a paraphilia.
Call it the way you want it, yes.
But isn't that what the book says? And isn't the object of the sexual sadist
100% agree,
a person who is on...
He didn't care in the moment, whether that's every moment or not, but when he wanted his pleasures to be satisfied, he didn't give a fuck. No boundaries to his depravity is the best way to put that, Brooklyn.
Who is conscious at the time that they are being sexually tortured?
Not. You see, this is what the book says. Okay. This is what many people say. But you see, the worst sexual sadism may be the inflicting some kind of destruction on a dead body. That's the utmost of sadism.
I agree that it's a sadism. I just want to know if it's the paraphilic sexual sadism.
Besides, Mr. Boyle, I didn't say that he was a sexual sadist. I said he had sadistic features. Sure. Features are a part of it. Features are a part. Like a building is built of many different things.
One question before we break for lunch, if that's all right, because I'll be going into something else. Doctor,
break for lunch, baby.
It
Woo!
was my belief as a layman reading that book that a person who is a sexual sadist operates on somebody who's conscious when they are doing their sadistic behavior.
I would say most of the times you're right, but that does not mean that... see, the entire behavior of Jeffrey Dahmer is sadistic.
I agree with that.
No, more sadistic than that. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to Jessica Christie's point, he's having problems answering yes or no. It is almost impossible to answer these super complex questions with yes or no in this setting.
But if every person that Jeffrey Dahmer harmed, and we know who he harmed, were unconscious when he harmed them, that is, they were unconscious, they did not they were not aware of them being harmed, sexually or otherwise, would he still be a sexual sadist?
I would say so. Not only that, but there is another feature of sexual sadism here, that he wanted to make them, as you say, unconscious, to dominate them. To dominate, and dominating another person is basically sadism.
Would you agree that the diagnostic criteria for a sexual sadist called sexual sadism, which is a paraphilia, is that these acts are always done with conscious people?
That's what the book says. Good. Okay? But I said sadistic features, which is it is not. Otherwise, I would have called him just a plain sexual sadist. I called him a mixed personality disorder with sadistic features, obsessive compulsive features, and many other features, borderline features that we can discuss. But he has many of these features. He's a very complex man. The majority of...
It's very complex. That's the best way to answer. This motherfucker's complex.
Sexual sadists don't do what he does, most of what he did. The majority of obsessive compulsive people don't do what he did. There are many people that have this type of disease entities, let's call it. They don't kill people. They go to work every single day. They're bothered by their obsessive compulsive behavior. They may be borderline. They work, they don't work. You know, this is what he has done. It's so complex that even though non-psychotic, even though legally sane, he is worse than the worst disease that is schizophrenia.
Let me ask you before we break for lunch one question. If Jeffrey Dahmer showed signs of hallucinations, showed signs of delusions, and did every single thing that we know he did, would you consider him then to be suffering from a mental disease?
Not necessarily so, because delusions and hallucinations are secondary symptoms of that we find in people who may be schizophrenics, who may be mentally, let's say, manic depressive, who can be intoxicated by alcohol, intoxicated by drugs, especially cocaine nowadays. No, not necessarily. I would have to see him.
Especially cocaine.
So what you're saying is based upon what you saw, not seeing any psychosis, knowing everything that you've been able to learn, you've made the diagnosis you've made, which is not a mental disease.
I made the diagnosis that my conscience and my knowledge have allowed me to make.
As every other,
my experience.
As every other doctor will do the same thing, obviously.
But
we're not questioning anything like that.
I hope so.
You know that.
Can you imagine having an argument with Boyle, like if you're his wife?
I hope so.
I think this would be a good time to break, and I don't know that I'll be all that much longer, but I'm going to just double check all my notes, but I still think we should break.
He's like, I may have something else left in the tank. Let's go get a bite to eat, and we'll find the fuck out. Going through my notes, baby.
Could be a little bit more.
We'll recess until 1:30. Court's in recess.
All right. Well, next week we're going to be starting right up into part 3 with Dr. George Palermo. Again, it's starting to happen. The talking is happening. Court-appointed psychiatrist here for Jeffrey Dahmer, who sat with him and had an interview for 4 hours that we're learning about here. That, I don't completely agree with a lot of his assessments here, but, that's going to become par for the course, quite frankly. Thank you, everyone that came through here. The accent was amazing. It made the entire day. I like the guy. I don't hate this expert by no means, but I definitely don't agree with everything he's saying. Which, again, that's how she goes. Mike Ladd, thank you very much for hanging out today. Appreciate it. Everyone that came through, absolutely amazing. Murder Church, Sunday mornings, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Get used to it. This is week 9 in a row. Week 10 next week. That's 2.5 months that we've been doing this, folks. Unbelievable. Time just flies. Austin, I hope that you start to feel better. Thank you for coming out and hanging out and modding for me. Mandy, thank you. I hope you have a good Sunday. Everybody, Megsy, thank you for the awesome drop in Discord and all the knowledge you drop here in the chat. Dizzy, Jessica Christie, Shelly, Every single person. Jay, thank you very much. I was looking to see if Jay had a link set up for tomorrow. He does not, so I'm not going to be able to do the portal. But yeah, thank you all so much. Again, you'll see me again Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern time for something. Keep an eye on the channel, folks, and please go check this video out right now. I'm going to be real with you. This video is so close to popping off. And if you guys check this out, give it a watch, and give it a like, give it a share. I honestly think it would help a lot. Again, this is on Rex Heuermann. This is a disturbing encounter he had days before his arrest in Brady Park. So yeah, please go check this video out. Again, that would help me out here, Publicly Buzzed, immensely. Yeah, check it out. Hope you dig it. But yeah, please keep an eye out for more videos exactly like that. I'm trying to get into it to where I'm actually covering this stuff and putting out videos along with the lives, edited form videos. Keep an eye on the community. If you're not subbed up, make sure you're getting subbed up. 3 little dots on the side. Make sure you click those and turn on all notifications so you don't miss anything, guys. Appreciate all the love that's coming through here. Dan, Art with Viv, Groot, make sure you're following Art with Viv, everybody. J-Bo Nation, J-Buzz Nation. Awesome. Killing the game out here. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you, absolutely, Austin. Yeah, I think that covers everything. As you head out the door, hit the like. Thanks, guys. Have a good Sunday. Boom.
See, we shoot them up bang bang over here. We not scared of they motherfucking ass.